From the Superbook.com sports desk, I'm Jonathan Schaefer. Philip Forsberg and Nashville Predators general manager David Poile spoke with the media yesterday, formally announcing the 8-year deal that keeps Forsberg in Nashville.
The only thing we're missing is the Stanley Cup, and that's the main driver for all of us. I mean, that's the motivation in the summer. That's when you try to get better for. And individual stuff is fun and all, but at the end of the day, I want to sit back in the couch and look at a Stanley Cup ring, and that's my ultimate motivation.
Forsberg had a career year last year in goals, assists, and points, and is also the franchise's leading goal scorer. Major League Baseball, Mets 4, Braves 1. It was the first game of a 3-game set in Atlanta. Max Scherzer, 7 innings pitched, 9 Ks for the Mets, who are now 2.5 games ahead of the Braves in the NL East. Roy Foundation Repair and Waterproofing needs. Visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on here over the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? Welcome in, J Mart and Ramon. 104.5 The Zone.
Yeah.
Ramon Foster.
Yep.
Jonathan Schaefer.
Yes.
Yeah. You can't just say it yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You got to finish it up,
Finish
man.
the deal. Come on.
I'm Jason Martin.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're on Twitter at Ramon Foster, at Schaefer on Sports, at J Mart Radio, at J Mart and Ramon. And you got premature whistlation.
Hey, that's all right. We still kept going.
I'm with the violence.
Yeah.
Today on the program, guest will appear as follows. Ben McKee talks some balls with us.
Balls.
Slay will be in the fourth hour, of course. Yeah. Conor Orr of Sports Illustrated joined us yesterday in the fourth hour of the show. If you ended up having to go into work and miss that, good convo about the Titans and just about the state of the NFL right now. We're going to replay that for you coming up in the next segment, so you don't want to miss that. If you have a second opportunity, we'll probably be able to talk after that. And right around, I'd say 7 o'clock, I think is when it will hit.
Right.
Double check and make sure it hasn't hit yet.
What the heck did I miss? It's supposed to hit at 7 o'clock, Jay.
The running backs list.
Oh.
Jeremy Fowler in the executive list, player list of ranking the top running
Ramon
backs.
just did the Denzel meme like,
I mean, we don't know. It could be. Who knows, man? Deshaun Watson could drop at 7 too.
The boss was out all like last week. We were on it last week, Jay. I thought like walking papers was coming down the pipeline. Like, Shafe, you didn't mention this one.
Nah,
Yeah. How many days till camp, man? How many sleeps, Jay? We are about
13 sleeps.
13 and then 14 sleeps to 26. 14 sleeps away from camp, baby. It's go time. 2 weeks left, Jay. Whew.
Let's go.
Yeah, man. Just finishing up the little bit more stretching this time of the year. Doing some long strides, making sure your conditioning is all together. You, by the way, have been running. You were telling me about this. And also, I kind of want to throw this out on radio, too. You have a flip-flop addiction.
Well, I'm trying to get them right.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Trying to get them right. That's a better way to say it. Trying to get them right. How many pair of flip-flops did you order over the last 2 weeks, Jason?
Well, the question is, how many was I trying to keep? I was trying to get to 2 pair.
No.
I've probably had 10 or 11 different ones that I've tried out.
That's cold.
With Abby.
That's cold. She got some too?
No.
Okay,
actually, she does. They're coming today. She didn't know that, though.
And she still don't because she's asleep.
She was awake when I
she
left.
up? She's
She's
up?
probably not listening
Okay.
yet. I know what she's listening to right now.
The baby and not the artist.
No.
I hate it here.
Not the rap artist, the baby. But yeah, trying to figure out the right shoe for the summer. And I get that too. The older I've gotten, the more I've been like, you know what? I like Jordans. Love Jordans, okay? Love designer shoes, the Yeezys. I'm talking about all the shoe brands, Jason, that you could have thought of. I was trying to get them. You know what my shoe rotation is now, dog? Crocs and about 4 or 5 other pair of shoes. And mind you, I probably got close to now 70 plus pair. And I'm like, what was I thinking? What was I doing, Jason? But you are currently in a flip-flop scramble.
So my issue is generally two-pronged. One is my feet are just insanely flat.
Okay.
To where I'm even looking into surgery.
Oh yeah, for what?
To get an arch.
You
try
can do
and
that?
repair the arch. You can, yeah.
I did not know it. I've
It
just
takes
heard.
about a year to recover from it.
Ooh, you want to go
Fully.
through that? Both feet?
Yeah.
Like Scooter J is about to be a thing?
No, I don't think you
Oh,
can do
okay.
them both at the same time because you can't be on them at all.
Jeez Louise.
I don't know that I'll do it, but it's frustrating. It's always been frustrating.
Ah.
I want to run. I really can't. Like, I really shouldn't be
Yeah.
at all. And I only discovered running as a thing that I was capable of 4 or 5 years ago.
Just because you just, all right, screw it, let's
That was
go.
when I started to get healthy.
Yeah.
And running just all of a sudden, naturally, I wanted to run all the time.
Okay.
So I ran on Sunday, but I can really only do it about once, maybe twice a day.
Mm-hmm. A week.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, right. A week. And usually then I take the day off, but yesterday I did like a recovery ride, bike ride, and did a little bit of weights. But so I've got to have slides that are, or flip-flops that are comfortable to flat feet.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is, this all started with me just wanting a pair of Birkenstocks.
Birkenstock.
But I can't wear them anymore. I can wear them in high school, but my foot immediately turns out the wrong way. It slides off the arch
Yeah.
because it's so flat. It corkscrews, and then part of my toes are just over the left side or over the right. They're just uncomfortable. I tried them for like 3 days in the house, gave it up. So,
But did the Birkenstocks like have your footprint in it? Because
No,
that's what they
never
do.
got
They
there.
never got to
They
that
never
point.
got to that
Okay.
point. But it's Zappos. They're gonna take them back anyway.
Zappos? Hold up, they're still around?
Yeah, they're booming. I mean, Amazon bought them.
I didn't know that. They got
But they're like a main
big-
official retailer of like about every shoe company now.
They
Like,
got
it's
a-
not third hand; it's straight up
It's
right from the
Zappos.
manufacturer.
Wow. They got a huge Zappos factory going up. Was it 264 in Louisville?
There's a
something
store
like
in
that?
Louisville.
Yeah, it is. My brother
We
told me
saw
about
it. We
that.
saw it like a month ago when we were up there.
Yeah, did you go to it?
No,
Apparently
we
got
saw
some-
it,
It's huge, apparently.
Yeah, it was big.
Yeah.
but so then it was just all right. Well, I mean, recovery. I've had UFOs since Coach Mack
Mm-hmm.
suggested them to me and David Reed like 5 years ago, and I've had to go through 2 pairs because Margot's eating 2 of them. The thongs and stuff, they're made kind of foamy.
Yeah.
And so now I've got a pair of. So I finally did get a pair of UFO slides. The first ones I tried were too. The other problem is if the strap over the top is too loose and it's not adjustable, that's a problem. And I have narrow feet to go with flat feet.
Yeah.
So everything's got to be right. And it's always something. There'll be something with me, and then I just overanalyze, and it gets preposterous. Abby's got to be tired of it. I tried on the Olakais last night.
Oh, they came in?
And man, they were pillows. Like they feel so good, and they're like terry cloth over the top, and they're really comfortable. And she's like, "Do you need 3 pairs?" And I wouldn't make eye contact with her. And then she told me she didn't like that color, but she liked the other one, which I thought the whole reason I got this one is because I thought this is the one she would like. Got it wrong.
Got that wrong.
Got it wrong. And so I think she was just hoping I'd take those back, which I am. I'm taking those back today, but I ordered the black ones.
Did you?
So there's still one more
Still
pair
gotta
coming.
go back.
And then I'm going to have to apologize for those. Maybe I am right now.
Yeah.
But I'm wearing a pair of them right now. I'm wearing a pair of the finalists that made the cut today.
Okay, that'll work. Where are they at? Scale of 1 to 10.
What do you mean?
They're holding. Like, are you gonna keep them?
Yeah, there's like
Comfortable?
one little issue where my baby toe on my right side is kind of scratching against them a little bit, but that wasn't happening on Sunday, so I'm not sure if that's just because I ran and it's a little bit tender over there right now.
I ain't no telling, man. We got some people chiming in on it too on social media. Said just go get a pair of Reef flip flops. I feel like you've been
tried.
down there. Reef is the one with the bottle opener, is what we figured out.
Yeah, well, look,
right?
I tried to re-slide and it was really comfortable, but it there was something wrong with them.
Oh, yeah.
It was something where it was just like, I don't know if it was too loose or if my foot just slid through the front. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
If my foot slides through the front and my toes over the box over here,
Yeah.
that's no good either.
Yeah, you're very particular about this, Jay. I see
They just
this
got to
as a
be.
science,
They just have
man.
to fit right because they're my feet and they're already a
Yeah.
disaster. They always have been.
Maria said what you said. Just J Martin needs a pair of UFOs.
Which I
never
have, too.
heard of UFOs, man. I was like, UFOs? What are you talking
Luckily,
about?
they have a different sports slide, which is the one that I got at Team Nashville here up the street. And
Yeah.
I think they're good to go.
Okay. And Big Orange Max said, I never knew this was a thing. I looked into repairing my flat feet, and he said it's expensive and long recovery process. Good luck.
But it is a long recovery process. It is something that insurance usually covers.
But can your arch drop again, though, because
No,
of
I
it?
don't think so.
You want to know who's got some flat feet, and hopefully I'm not breaking laws here, but he'll tell you himself is Ron. I don't see how he's an athlete. I'll be completely honest with you. He can jump, run, all those things. I'm like, his feet go in. It'd be interesting to see what his vibes are. He still wore Jordans and stuff like that. I never really hear him complain about it either. I wonder, what adjusted for him. His
Not
arch
really
is,
an athlete.
his arch
If you've
is
got
sick.
feet that fit them right, the Jordan Play slides, which are the ones I tried last
Yeah.
week, the gray ones, the new ones, they're great. They have it's pretty big with the strap over, but it's also like, I don't think they cushioned the top and bottom portion that actually hits your foot. So when you're actually walking, that piece kind of scrapes. I don't need a scrape. I'm not looking for a scrape. Like there's just a few, like if it's irritating on every step,
Yeah.
or if there's something about it that I don't like on every step, that can't be a thing you can do.
Yeah.
So, the easiest shoe purchase I've made this year is a pair of Vans that I got for Father's Day.
I'm actually shocked that you can wear Vans if you got flat feet, though.
Well, they have the Comfy Cush now.
The Comfy Cush.
Yeah, the Comfy Cush bottom.
Sounds like a strain.
Yeah, it does. I think it might be intended. And that
It might be.
that and my
100%
Cole Haans are
right.
the ones that I just know fit. I put on a pair of 13s, they work. Put on a
And
pair of
that
13
works.
Vans and they work. Put a pair of 13 Brooks and they work. 13 On Clouds. But On Clouds aren't really stability shoes either for flat feet. So I just wear those around. I would never run in them, for example.
I ran in mine. Man, I think my right foot has actually grown because it's either that or just the right own shoe that I have. It rubs the back of my heel, and I'm like, did something change with my foot? I actually heard it was you. Who was it that was telling me they were I was talking to one of the dads at practice the other day at the tournament this past weekend, say his foot size went from a 12 to a 13. He actually went to a shoe store, said he'd been wearing 12s his entire life, 40 plus pairs of shoes that he's accumulated, and said that he went to a actual shoe store where they fit you, and they told him, it's like, man, you wear a 13. He was like, no, I've always worn a 12. He was like, well, you now wear a 13, and say he's just been in the process of rebuying shoes slowly. He was like, I got over 40 pair of shoes. What the heck am I supposed to do with all these shoes when I can't even fit them anymore? That's got to be a weird place to be. Like, gaining weight is one thing, okay? You can lose that as essentially.
Sure.
But like you growing still or your feet get bigger, not because of like discomfort or weight, but like your foot actually grows. That's got to be a tough place to be, especially when you're just not prepared to buy more shoes. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm also just neurotic in that, should I have gotten the size down or the size up? That's the other thing. I
You
look at them and
overthinking it a
stare
little
them
bit.
down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I should have gone down. Then I go and try one at a different store and I realize, no, I'm right. Then I get home, I'm like, but maybe those were the ones I should have had. Like, it's
Those
stupid, man.
ugly, I call them ugly too, because initially it was my mindset, Kanye flip-flops.
Yeah, the
I
Yeezys.
was like, I don't like them, but now people say they're super comfortable, and I'm like, golly, I
a
trashed
couple
them.
$100.
I trashed them too. I was like, oh, they trash. And now here I am, like, I'd almost consider a pair, but I already got too many already anyway, man. Oh, that's interesting, Murph. I didn't know that.
Feet and ears continue to grow.
Yeah.
That's why old people have big ears.
Big old-
What's going to happen with Andrew Siciliano? If his ears continue to grow,
See?
like,
I wasn't prepared for that.
If his ears continue to grow, they're going to need a chair next to him
He gonna,
on all his broadcasting assignments.
he will,
Freaking bum.
he won't wear earmuffs, man. He'll put jackets on his
Nah,
ears.
Earmuffs don't fit.
If y'all hadn't seen Andrew Siciliano,
Can't wear earmuffs because my knots don't fit.
the dude with the ears, wow, that was good. That was solid. I didn't realize that, though.
Conor Orr of
Your
Sports
ears.
Illustrated joined us yesterday. Good conversation about the NFL. Some interesting questions and answers about the Titans and others certainly across the AFC and who's a contender and who's not. If you missed it, we're going to play it for you again after the break. You don't want to miss that. It's Jay Martin, Mel 104.5 The Zone.
Oh my God.
Hey, is your HVAC system prone to breakdowns? If you are worried it can't keep up with the heat, well, we're right back into it again. It is hot again. Summertime in Tennessee, not when you want your HVAC system to quit on you. And, of course, you also would like for it to be good once it gets cold also. So Lee Company makes buying a new system easy. Nearly 80 years of HVAC experience with real professionals that are in the business to do this specifically. They'll help choose the system that's right for you. Make sure it's the right size to make sure everything in your house is as cool as you want it to be. Right now, they're offering $1,250 off a new system or special financing for up to 60 months. Great deal here. Again, over $1,000 up front. And again, if you've got the right HVAC system, if it's efficient, you're going to save money then, too, on your energy costs. So if you do both together, pretty good. Offering $1,250 off a new system or special financing for up to 60 months. I took advantage of the deal last year. You should do it right now. Call them today and learn all about their current financing and service special offers. 615-567-1000 is the telephone number. 567-1000 or visit them online at leadcompany.com/promotions.
It feels great. Obviously, we're very excited. Me and Erin and the rest of my family, her family, we're all, like I said, we're all very excited to continue this journey together with the team. I mean, we, like I said, like David said too, we've been working really hard for a little bit of time now to get to this point. And obviously we're very excited, very, very happy with how everything turned out, and looking forward to get to work right away.
That was Phil Forsberg. He's going to be a Predator maybe for his whole career. I got to say, man, it's cool. I didn't want to see him play in another uniform.
Yeah.
Didn't want to see him play in another jersey, another sweater. Now he may not have to. Not originally drafted by the Preds. They picked him up. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Kennedy Chandler.
Yeah.
And how that worked. Maybe you're thinking that in several years. We'll see.
And what's so cool is he got this payday while having a bachelor party. You know what the ultimate payoff? Look, I bet he bought shots that night.
Love watching him play. Glad he's going to be here in our city for a long time. Conor Orr, he was here on January the 22nd, unfortunately, for Titans fans, because he writes for Sports Illustrated. He wrote a piece to 12 teams, or maybe 13, that could be contenders to win the Super Bowl this year. The Titans did not make that list. We did have him on, not specifically because of that, but we certainly talked about that. If you missed it, Conor Orr with us yesterday, we were pretty impressed with how he came. A lot of times, some people write and you put them on, you're like, oh, that's why you write.
That's true.
He was not one of those. Here's Conor Orr with us yesterday. Give me a reason why you think it is that most people nationally tend to give more of a pass or more cushion to the Colts than the Titans in division. Even in recent years, you just see this happen more and more. And our fan base is always kind of sitting around saying, well, what? Where's the love for us? Why is it Indy that generally gets kind of the nod over the Titans?
I think they have a deeper roster. I think they have a better quarterback. And, well, in this situation, I mean, I think last year especially, I think is where I started to turn. I was there at Nissan Stadium for that playoff game, and I think that we just saw the ultimate limitations of Ryan Tannehill. And if Derrick Henry's not healthy, then that team is really sort of incomplete, right? I mean, there's not a whole lot that you can do with a quarterback that gets you 75% of the way there, and then a running back who's transcendent, is phenomenal, but if he's not healthy, I mean, I don't know what he does for you.
Okay, so that's just this past year, but it's not just this past year. I agree with you. We were at that game as well, and we said before that game, this is the one game the Titans can't lose. If you go to the championship game, host it, lose to Kansas City or Buffalo, nobody's going to be down your throat about it. But if it happens with Joe Burrow and the Bengals in your house, this one's going to sting for a long period of time. Right. Tannehill especially, and Tannehill decided to play a really bad game that day. But Indianapolis generally gets the benefit of the doubt from the media, where Tennessee generally does not, outside of this city in particular. I have theorized that a lot of that is because the media got used to Indianapolis being relevant because of Peyton Manning, and then they got Andrew Luck. And so the Colts have always been a franchise that has been paid attention to a little bit more than the Titans. And this recency of the Titans being kind of this blue-collar, gritty team that wins hasn't rubbed off on the national guys that aren't here to see it day to day.
I think that's a tough characterization because, just like I wouldn't say all local radio hosts sound exactly the same and do the same thing and run the same segments and support their local team in the same way. I wouldn't say that all national media people approach their jobs the same way. That's not me being combative. That's me saying, when I'm at the combine or when I'm making calls every day, I'm putting an awful lot of work in to figure out, why teams are good, why teams are bad, why teams are deep, why certain quarterbacks are going to work or not work. And so, all that goes into, me saying I'm going to pick the Colts over the Titans this year. I think, it's not just, my perception of an area, and so, maybe some national people do that, but, that wouldn't be how I would characterize my work generally.
So as far as the Titans Colts go also, because that's the two teams we really cover the most, specifically the Titans, man. When you look at the rest of the AFC, you got to say to yourself, the West is strong. The North will probably get two out of it. And then you look at the South and you say it's probably going to be either the Titans or the Colts because of everybody else. How do you decide as far as the way they're going to win this division this year? Will it be on the ground with Jonathan Taylor versus Derrick Henry, or can you trust the quarterbacks to get them in the playoffs?
I think you can trust the quarterback. And what's interesting about the Titans is, they're just running. They're running a system, right? I mean, outside zone this year. Think about that. It's going to be run by half the teams in the NFL. Half. Kyle Shanahan's got an offensive play caller or a former play caller who's now head coach on half of the teams in the NFL right now, which is crazy. And you don't think that every defensive coordinator is staying up and trying to stop this in particular, because that's what's going to keep them employed for the next year. And so I worry a little bit about their ability to be as efficient as they're going to be on the ground game versus the Colts, who I think can just beat you in a couple different ways. They weren't a true outside zone team. And I think Matt Ryan, he gets the backs involved in the passing game a lot more than Carson Wentz does. So we may see a version of Taylor that we haven't seen before now.
With that being said, when we speak about these two that's got to decide, the two running backs specifically, Jonathan Taylor versus Derrick Henry, man, the volume in which Derrick runs with is not necessarily needed for Jonathan Taylor. If you're going to pick one to decide who's going to win the game for you, in your honest opinion, which one would it be?
Oh, it's Derrick Henry. There's no question.
Okay.
But he has to be fully healthy. He has to have the offensive line, he's got to be facing teams that aren't, I'm seeing a lot of drafting, right? Kind of quick penetrating defensive tackles, guys that are going to mess up outside zone. A lot of teams are doing that now, interior off-ball linebackers. So, and I'm not saying that Derrick was a product of NFL is the way it was. He's a Hall of Fame running back in my point of view. But if the NFL now is built specifically to stop him, he's going to have a harder time doing what he used to do naturally. But if you're asking me to pick one of those two guys and the game is on the line and it's 4th and 1, there's no doubt in my mind I'm picking Derrick Henry.
Conor Orr of Sports Illustrated with us. The 12 or maybe 13 teams that could actually win Super Bowl 57 is the name of the article. Conor, do the Titans make the list if A.J. Brown is still on the roster?
Ooh.
I don't know. I mean, because here's the thing. I mean, and I've been working on something about this for a couple weeks now. I mean, you saw the Packers trade Devontae Adams. Mm-hmm. They run the same offense the Titans do. You saw the Titans trade A.J. Brown. You saw the 49ers hold on to Deebo Samuel. So 3 different teams running the exact same offense. 2 of them said we don't need our star wide receiver. 1 of them says we do. That's going to be a really interesting thing to bear itself out this season. And so, if if the Titans have a good year, they can produce another wide receiver through that system, then I don't think it necessarily matters. I will find out this year. This year is our sample size, whether this system produces great wide receivers or if great wide receivers produce the system, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that absolutely does make sense. I think we're going to get an answer. I'm fascinated, Conor, to watch both Kansas City and Green Bay specifically, because they've bet on what they can do as opposed to paying Tyreek, who I think is very hard to duplicate his skill set and his unique athleticism. And Devontae Adams, who was the best route runner in the league, best off the ball. And now Aaron Rodgers has got to play with a bunch of guys we've never really seen before. So I think all of that is actually going to be pretty fascinating, even without throwing in what it means for Tennessee. What do you think about sort of some of the other things that they're doing? I think you mentioned it. You were at the playoff game. Where are you right now on Ryan Tannehill?
I mean, I'm where the Titans are on Ryan Tannehill, right? I mean, they drafted another quarterback, right? So, they drafted a high upside guy in the 3rd round that I think that they hope balls out in training camp and makes this decision hard on them. So, I think there's an easy out in his contract after this year. And so I feel like I'm out where the Titans are at right now, which is, you can blow us away the first 8 games, or it's going to kind of be like Marcus Mariota. We're going to hand it off, and because this team doesn't have time to lollygag around. I mean, This is it's built to win right now. You have some of the best defensive players in football in their athletic prime. Like, you have to win this thing right now.
So do you think Willis is closer to this than most of us believe? Look, this is all about the future. The move might be, Traylon Burks, if it works out, you're kind of hoping for the future. You're hoping he's wide receiver 1 for Malik Willis, but none of us really see that being this year. Do you have any kind of a sense that maybe from your perspective, Malik is a little further ahead than some people might think?
I liked Malik a little bit better than some other people did coming out. Is he going to be ready for this year? I don't know. I mean, I think his offensive situation at Liberty was pretty tough. I think he's got a long way to go in terms of, he was late to the position. I think that he's got some mechanical stuff that this will be a big summer for him, with his private team. And we'll see how he kind of comes into training camp and what he can do with his foundation and his base. But, I think just offensively, I mean, it's got to come a long way. But the athleticism is there. I mean, and we've seen teams make it work while the other stuff comes around. And, sometimes it's better than just kind of having a hold the fort guy. And I'm not saying Ryan Tannehill is that. He's been better than that for a long time. But at the end of the day, it's, you might need something else to kind of break through.
A team that kind of shocked everybody, including myself, considering what I know about them, is Cincinnati. But they also have a quarterback that is, what do we call him now? All world, the next face of the NFL. The matchup between the Titans and the Bengals, man, I thought would have been a prime time. But aside from that, what has he done for that organization? What will he do to the league? Because year two, whether they had the right pathway to the Super Bowl, they did it. What's to be expected from this team whose target is a little bit bigger on their back this year?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't know exactly how they're going to look, but, in just going back and doing a lot of research on Burrow this offseason and watching his games and talking to people, I mean, I honestly, this is a lot to put on a guy, but is probably the closest thing to like a Peyton Manning that we've seen. I think that just by virtue of him being on the roster, they're going to be in the playoffs every year. And maybe some years they're not going to make it to the Super Bowl, but you talk to guys who know the position, and they're just like, it's unbelievable that he can set his feet in a crazy pocket and make a perfect throw. And, there's only 3 people on the planet who can do that. And so that plus Jamar Chase, plus that offense, that'll at least get you to the postseason every year now, or close, right? And so I think that's kind of what you think with the Bengals. The rest of it's going to be in the hands of their personnel department. Can they keep that defense together? Is Too High Shell going to still be popular in a couple of years, or is somebody going to figure out a way to beat that? And they're going to have to retool their defense. Will they spend the money to do that? All that stuff is up in the air. We don't know that, but I think we do know that Joe Burrow is one of the best quarterbacks we've seen come into the NFL probably the last 10 or 15 years.
You got all 4 of the AFC West teams on this list of teams that could win the Super Bowl. How do you see that shaking out, and what is Russ going to mean to Denver, considering you got all 4 of them on this list of teams that could potentially win the Super Bowl?
Yeah, it's just hard. I think by virtue of whatever team comes out of that division, almost like the North last year, is just going to be better equipped to handle the playoffs, the rigor of the playoffs, because their schedule is just going to be brutal. But the Broncos in particular, I think they've had a super underrated receiving core for a long time. But now there's going to be a real quarterback throwing them the football. Tim Patrick, if you look back at his quarterbacks that he's worked with, Trevor Siemian, Brock Osweiler, all these guys, Russell Wilson is one of the best deep throwers in the history of the NFL. And so I think that we're going to see things stretch out. I think Nathaniel Hackett is really good at his job. I think he's really smart. I think he's going to bring an edge there. And his defensive coordinator, Ejiro Evero, was really kind of the brain power behind that Rams team for a long time. Really talented guy. And I just think that they got a great staff. They have a good offense. They're going to run the ball down people's throats. So Javonte Williams this year, you guys talk about an emerging running back in the NFL with that offensive line. That's going to be a guy who's going to tear it up this year, I think.
Look, I'm a Broncos fan, have been my whole life, so I'm excited to hear all of those things. I'm excited about J.C. Jones as well and what he can mean potentially on the defensive side of the ball. Whose hype are you not buying into? I'm a little bit wary on the Chargers. I know how talented the roster is, but I've seen this for a long time. I was down on the Ravens last year. Chargers kind of have a feeling they might have that kind of year. But whose hype are you hearing? Like, you're hearing a lot about Zach Wilson, not for what he's doing off the field, but about beefing up and all the stuff he's doing on the field and all this. Whose hype are you're hearing people talk about where you're like, I don't really buy into this?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'm not necessarily buying like the Dolphins as this team that Tyreek Hill's going to bring to the playoffs. That whole thing kind of doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I don't know if you can call that hype. I think that they just kind of went after it a little bit this offseason and tried to get him some help. I think Tyreek's going to have pretty low yards per reception. I think they're going to use him kind of just off the line of scrimmage a lot just to get the ball out of his hands. But I don't know. That's a good question. I guess if the Dolphins qualify as an answer, I'll say the Dolphins. But I think a lot of teams had really good off seasons. Yeah, here's the other thing. GMs are getting smarter. They're spending money and they're spending draft picks, but they're doing it in better ways, I think, than we've seen before. And getting like a late stage Khalil Mack, if you're talking about the Chargers, I think was a pretty solid move. Staley's worked with him before. He knows how to use him best. And I think, that pass rush is pretty hard to beat right now.
Is Justin Fields in danger of being the next Sam Darnold / Josh Rosen guy that's just he came in with a hand tied behind his back? He had Matt Nagy. He had a kind of a lame duck GM and Ryan Pace. Now he's got a defensive coach, and I feel like had it not been for the Browns, the Bears have had an all-time terrible offseason. They got him nothing to work with at all. We watched Velus Jones and really liked him in Knoxville, but he's not a wide receiver one in the NFL, and I don't know what Justin Fields has around him to help him win and grow.
Yeah, I wrote this offseason he should request a trade, and the Bears fans weren't very thrilled about that. So I'm sort of in hiding I'm persona non grata on Bears right now, which is okay. But, yeah, I mean, if you're a quarterback and you see that happening, you need to get out. It's like plain and simple. And, teams will do it to you anyway. They're going to cut you, if you don't perform. And so if I'm Justin Fields, I'm trying to work my way out of there before my career is ruined, because, it's not fair for guys to be, come into the league as a top pick with a lot of talent and then have to play for, 1/100th of your salary just because you had bad coaches or people who wanted to rebuild it, and it doesn't seem like they kind of really have a lot in mind for him with this rebuild. Darryl Mooney's going to have a great season, but outside of that, what do you got going for you there?
Are we at a point to where the Patriots, who ran the early 2000s and mid 2000s, are kind of on the back burner when it comes to watching them on prime time now?
Well, maybe watching them on prime time, but I would guess that thrills Bill Belichick. That is something he can use as motivation. He probably hates going to those those pregame meetings for Monday Night Football anyway. My guess is if he goes at all. And so you stick him at 1 o'clock on CBS all season, I'm sure he would be more than happy to just quietly compile 12 wins and then start scaring people in the playoffs, which I think that they're going to do.
What do you think of Baker Mayfield in Carolina and how that fits? They drafted Matt Corral and gave up a draft pick to do it, then ended up getting Baker anyway. They've already got Darnold, who they gave a weird option to for no apparent reason. They took an $18 million dead cap hit on Teddy Bridgewater after bringing him in for 1 year. And I'm seeing a lot of people saying it's Sam Darnold's job to lose. I just don't believe that, Connor.
Yeah, there's a 0%. Baker Mayfield's going to start week 1.
Yeah.
I mean, if he doesn't, then I think the GM will be removed before week 1. I mean, he has one of the most involved and not impatient, but aggressive owners in the league. I thought that they were going to clean house last year. This has to work. And I think it might. I think Ben McAdoo's a better play caller than he's given credit for. I mean, he took that Giants team to the playoffs and Odell Beckham was there, and then you saw how bad they were in a couple of years after that. I think he deserves a second shot at this, but I think Baker takes them from a team that I think would have guaranteed finished dead last in the division and maybe puts them in, 8 or 9 win consideration. Like, I think they could have a decent season.
So, with that being said, the quarterback that kicked them out of Cleveland, Deshaun Watson, I think everybody knows he's going to be suspended. In your opinion, how long do you see the suspension going on?
It's hard to say. I mean, right now it's like, it's both sides kind of leaking out what they want out, right? Mm-hmm. So we initially heard from Watson's camp and saying, the NFL heard no evidence of wrongdoing, which I find hard to believe. And then now we're hearing from the camp of the accusers. And, now, we're going to wait and see. I think the briefs are due today or tomorrow, and then Judge Robinson has a chance to sit down and deliberate. I mean, certainly it seems like the wind is blowing for less than a year, just based on what we've seen bear itself out. But I think that would be an all-time tragedy for the NFL's justice system. But that's not my job to make. I don't think I don't know why the NFL felt the need to leak a year plus if they didn't think that they were maybe they didn't think they were going to get it. But I mean, we were the outlet that started working on these allegations and reporting on these allegations before everybody, Right. And if you asked me or anybody else for our opinions, I would say it would be a pretty lengthy suspension.
It's good stuff with Conor Orr yesterday, late in the show from Sports Illustrated. Covered a lot of ground. Certainly the Titans-Colts debate, where he thinks Derrick Henry is. By the way, the running backs list just came out. So I just popped it over and took a look.
I hadn't seen it yet. I should
Maybe
wait.
Save that for the top of the hour, perhaps. or maybe at least on the other side of this break. 615-737-1045. Reset a little bit of what Connor said. And yeah, we can start to look at this running backs list when we come back. It's Jay Martin on 1045 The Zone.
Mortgage interest rates are starting to go up if you hadn't paid attention to it. And the guys at the Home Loan Expert are still locking in their clients with great loans that are quarter point lower than the national average. So if you've been sitting on the fence to get a refi, or if you haven't gotten your pre-approved home loan locked in, now is the time. Because by refinancing your 30-year mortgage with the Home Loan Expert, you can still save hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a month with a simple refinance. Again, the mortgage interest rates are starting to go up. And you know what? The rates are starting to rise a little bit too, but they need to get you locked in. So if you are thinking about a cash out refi, again, now is the time, because you can pay off your credit card, make some remodeling projects a reality. Stick some cash in your bank and stop living paycheck to paycheck. Their clients receive an average of $54,000 with a simple cash out refi at closing. So if you're struggling with a little bit of bills and debt, the cash out refi is perfect for you. And you know this too. Your home is your biggest asset. And with the home equity so high right now, it's the perfect time to do a cash out refi. By not owing on credit cards with high interest rates, you are putting hundreds, if not thousands of dollars into your pockets monthly, okay? And the housing market is starting to cool, but the inventory is low. And you know this, the homes are still selling fast. And they need to get you pre-approved today. The Home Loan Expert has lower rates. They have loan programs for almost everybody in a 10-day closing guarantee. They can answer all of your questions and make sure you are ready to close the deal. 10-day closing guarantee, only available at thehomeloanexpert.com.
When you hear Genesis Diamonds, you think extreme value, you think amazing prices, you think no middleman markups, bigger and better for less. And yes, all of that is true, but the Genesis experience is why I keep going back. Second to none. I mean, yeah, they've got the top quality stuff. That's going to get you in the door, but the way they treat you once you're in the door, totally professional, laid back, luxury, relaxed, informative. You're dealing with non-commissioned experts, not clerks. You get a refreshment when you walk in, and then it just gets better. It's all about high quality with no compromise. Exquisite hand-picked diamonds cut above what you're going to find at other stores. They get the first pick of the best at Genesis from cutters all over the world. It's the ones they reject that you end up seeing in the mega chain stores and online. At Genesis, you can get that designer ring she wants. The designers that you won't find at other places. They've been selected by all the world's top bridal designers to be an authorized retailer with over 4,000 rings to choose from. Handcrafted, quality rings in every style imaginable. Genesis Diamonds starts with the best value price. That's just the beginning, though. Quality and experience, a whole different level. It's why I always go back. Genesis Diamonds now with a huge selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches, over 200 of the most popular Rolex models in stock. Today's the day to jump in. My jewelry store should be yours. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Join 104.5 The Zone's Ron Slay coming up this Saturday from noon to 3 o'clock at Famous Dave's All-Star Barbecue Challenge, hosted by the best-known barbecue restaurant in America. Come by and see 10 of the best barbecue teams in the country and meet the famous Dave Anderson. That's at 500 Old Hickory Boulevard in Hermitage. More info, you can get it at 1045thezone.com/event today.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. Yesterday, we're going to save the running backs list for the top of the hour because it's going to be a pretty abbreviated segment. If you were looking for Paolo Banchero versus Chet Holmgren last night, Magic shut him down before the game started. They said, we've seen enough. So he's done with Summer League. He played 2 games, averaged 20-some and 6. And they're like, we saw enough. We're going to let some of the younger guys we really want to take a look at get out there. So there was no Chet versus Paolo last night.
Chet was playing into the fourth quarter last night, though. That's interesting that they would do that in the preseason. I mean, training camp for basketball ain't until when? Late August, October?
I don't know exactly why you do it necessarily. I mean, I know they feel like they got their guy. I mean, it was the number 1 pick, and he definitely played well in those 2 games. But again, Summer League doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't.
Start that load management early. My man hadn't played a single game yet, and they're like, we've seen enough.
This boy's a star unless they plan on KD coming down. But nah, I doubt it.
There's no asset that the Nets can get back from them outside of Banchero.
Golly. But that's interesting. It was like I said, Ron came through the other day, and we turned on the game a little bit. Watched Kennedy play a little bit. The Lofton Jr. kid was playing again too because he's with the Grizz. But with that being said, his second time around, considering the fanfare that he got from SportsCenter, ESPN, and NBA.com, they were trying to lock him down as much as possible. That's very interesting though with Chet. He played a good bit last night. I'm actually excited to see what he's going to do there. He is a name that will now make me tune in to watching OKC games. I feel like.
I mean, they're my squad. I'm excited for what it might be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get caught up in Summer League stuff, but I'm glad that he seems to have the attitude that he does.
Yeah.
And he just strikes me as somebody that's going to work really hard. All of them do. Jabari does.
Yeah.
Certainly Paolo does. I don't think there's anything really to make of this other than the Magic are going to be careful with their the best asset they've had in a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
And good. The more young, good players we have in this league, the better the league's going to be.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Once I can stop hearing about people like Kyrie Irving and some of this stuff. We can just move on from a lot of this. And Westbrook becoming the scapegoat for everything that went wrong with the Lakers.
Sheesh.
That's very
Golly.
unfair.
You know he can't appreciate that whatsoever, man.
No,
Goodness.
Lord, no. We'll come back out of the break. Fowler, the executive, he aggregates it, but the list from the executives and the players, and coaches and scouts, the running back top 10 list. We will go from 10 to 1, and we'll find out where Derrick ranks. We already know, but you'll find out after the top of the hour headlines here on The Zone. Hey, rents are rapidly rising. A lot of folks now putting their money to work through rental home ownership. Mortgage Investors Group has a 30-year fixed rate, that's crucial, fixed rate loan that helps investors maximize cash flow, eliminate rising interest rate risk in one very easy to see loan. Buying or refinancing residential rental property, it can be a little bit hectic, but if you have the experts at MIG, they're going to show you how to get the best rental financing available. So, again, if this is something you're interested in, Mortgage Investors Group is here. They're going to make sure that everything that you get is what's right for you because they care and they're committed to your goals as a homeowner, or in this case, maybe somebody that wants to invest in rental property. They're going to make it a reality for you. You can see the MIG difference on Zillow with over 2,600 reviews. You can go to the website and see absolutely everything you need. MIGonline.com. That's MIGonline.com. Find the office nearest you or text 3 letters, MIG, to 31399. That's MIG to 31399 to get pre-qualified. Mortgage Investors Group, the right home loan, equal housing lender, license number 109111. Hey, when you hear Genesis Diamonds again, I've been telling you about this, and now multiple times this week, this is where you need to go. And again, the biggest reason why is because of the experience. If you go in and you know you're not going to be upsold, and you know that the person who's helping you, they're not dependent on how much you spend in terms of how much they're going to make off of you, that makes a huge difference in whether or not you believe what they're telling you. So when you go into Genesis Diamonds, you know you're looking at a non-commissioned salesperson that's there to help you. They're employed to help you. They're employed to educate you. They're going to give you all the information that you didn't have. When I went in for Abby's ring, I didn't know anything about diamonds, and they educated me. They showed me exactly what I needed to know. What are the things that she cares about most? Is it clarity? Is it color? What is it? And then they were able to match me to exactly what was going to fit absolutely best. And then, of course, exquisite hand-picked diamonds that are really a cut above what other stores can do. These are direct prices, or non-middleman experiences. Everything that you want out of a jewelry store you get from Genesis Diamonds, including the best value price, including over 4,000 rings, the designers that you want, and a huge selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches, over 200 of the most popular Rolex models in stock. I have no idea why you get jewelry anywhere else. I know I never will. It's Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills, and Cool Springs.
From the Superbook.com sports desk, I'm Jonathan Schaefer. Philip Forsberg and Nashville Predators general manager David Poyle spoke with the media yesterday, formally announcing the 8-year deal that keeps Forsberg in Nashville.
I always felt that we were going to get it done. Again, I wish my life, there's a lot of things I wish that came in a little bit faster in a different form, but I think the most important thing is here we are today and we got it done.
Forsberg is the franchise's leading goal scorer, also had career ties in goals, assists, and points last season. Mets defeated the Braves 4-1, first game of a 3-game set in Atlanta last night. Max Scherzer, 7 innings pitched, 9 Ks for the Mets, who are now 2.5 games ahead of the Braves in the NL East. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? J Mart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Lifted up by All Four Seasons Garage Doors in Nashville, allfourseasonsgarages.com. Go there to learn more. Wide open this hour, 615-737-1045. Ramon Foster at Ramon Foster. Jonathan Schaefer at Schaefer on Sports. Jason Martin at J Mart Radio. Us collectively at J Mart and Ramon. Ben McKee will join us in the next hour to talk some Vols, some SEC. Ron Slade, fourth hour. All right, here it is. The list. We knew it was coming, and this was maybe the most interesting one for this fan base. Ranking the NFL's top 10 running backs for 2022. Fowler aggregates it from ESPN. Execs, coaches, players make their picks for the best rushers. Here's how the process works, just to let you know. Voters give their best 10 at a position. Then you compile the results, rank candidates based on number of top 10 votes, composite average, hundreds of interviews, research, and film study help from NFL analysts for ESPN. More than 50 voters submitted a ballot on at least one position, in many cases all positions. We had several ties. broke them with the help of additional voting and follow-up calls with our rankers. Each section packed with quotes and nuggets from voters on every guy, even the honorable mentions. Okay. This is not, he also said, not a 5-year projection or an achievement award. Who are the best players today? Tomorrow's wide receivers, by the way. I think that'll be interesting also, just to see where where Arthur is.
Mr. Brown is.
So, also receiving votes, Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders, Antonio Gibson.
Mm-hmm.
Honorable mentions, Zeke, Saquon, Austin Eckler.
You want to talk about a rise and fall,
Hell
man.
yeah,
No, I'm talking about Saquon.
too.
Yeah. And I know Saquon had the ACL, but
Has all of
goodness,
it.
he's supposed to take the league by storm.
Missed 22 games in 4 years. But in 21, he only had 593 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns on 162 carries. This is a veteran NFL offensive coach about Saquon. I'm down on him. He still doesn't know how to play running back enough.
Wow.
He's a bouncer. He wants every run to be a home run. He's going to have to learn that 4-yard runs in this league are good instead of stopping, cutting it back, and losing 2. And he gets his ass kicked in protection.
Oh,
Dang.
that wasn't his position, coach?
That was a quote, by the way.
That sounds like his position coach, man.
Easy
Dang,
there,
that's-
Coach 30.
That's film study stuff.
Right?
Yeah, right?
Right?
Right. That's Davis, man.
Zeke, NFL exec, he's still a good player, but that burst he once had just doesn't seem to be there. I would agree. Pollard, I thought, was better last year. Austin Eckler, huge asset to Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
He's the underrated honorable mention.
That's
Like,
what
he's
I
a
would-
solid football player. The other 2 guys
Yes,
had all
sir.
the hype and aren't living up to it anymore.
Yeah.
But that was cold-blooded what was said about Saquon Barkley.
Saquon, God, that came from the Giants front office. That was
That was vicious and delicious right
you,
there.
You want to like that's how like meetings go right there.
right?
Like for real. Like whoever said
Davis?
that was in like meeting mode, Jay. It's politely disrespectful about you not doing your job well. Goodness.
You could add to it. It's like there's Davis and Charles and everybody that Coach 30 uses in his videos. They could now add Barkley to it. Just call it Barkley.
That might have been. I can't get over the fact that somebody actually said this.
I'm going to read this again. A veteran NFL offensive coach on Saquon Barkley. I'm down on him. He still doesn't know how to play running back enough. He's a bouncer. He wants every run to be a home run. He's going to have to learn that 4-yard runs in this league are good instead of stopping, cutting it back, and losing 2, and he gets his ass kicked in protection.
Not really
an
Ouch.
Golly.
Ouch.
I'll say this about Saquon. The way that's phrased and said and quoted, if he wasn't the first rounder, it almost sound like he'd be out of the league.
Well, you know what it reads like? Reads like Reggie Bush.
What?
Reads like early in Reggie Bush's career.
Yeah, you know what else it reads like?
What?
First 2.5 years
Derrick
of Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Is that what it was for D-Hen too? Golly.
Because you're used to home runs.
Yeah. I mean,
you
you
get
are.
the NFL and those home runs become singles.
Singles.
And then you get a triple later.
Yeah.
But you have to experience a lot of singles first. All right. Top 10. Number 10, Javonte Williams.
Yeah.
I'm excited about him.
I knew about him and I heard a good bit about him coming out of North Carolina. When he got drafted, the gushing over him, Jay, was, okay, this kid must be nice. And he is.
Yeah, he is. He broke the most tackles, I think, at the position or any position last year. NFL personnel official said you can't get him on the ground, can't tackle him. That kid is really good.
You know what? RIP to him kind of reminds you a little bit of Marion the Barbarian. You know what I'm saying? His style, like, it's going to take more than one.
Another one says with Williams, you just see defenses feeling like I'm tired of tackling him.
And Pop both.
I'm tired for real.
Said he's not as fast as Taylor, meaning Jonathan Taylor, but he's got everything else.
Yeah.
I don't think Melvin Gordon's even needed, but it'll save Javonte Williams having 400 touches this year.
Yeah.
So it'll work. Number 9, Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
By the way, somebody had Javonte ranked second.
Did they?
Finished in 10th. His lowest ranking was out of top 10. Aaron Jones' highest ranking was 6. Lowest ranking was out of top 10. We know how good Aaron Jones is.
Mhm.
Very talented. Number 8, Najee Harris.
Yeah.
Highest ranking was 3. I can't get you there. Not yet. I need to see you with an offensive line, though.
Yeah, he's got to get a little bit more efficient too as
Yeah.
far as his runs. He's a high rep guy too. 304 rushes, 74 catches last year. Goodness.
One NFL defensive coach said, "Not for me." He had 1,200 yards when everyone knew he was going to run it. They knew the Steelers weren't throwing deep, and their O-line was terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. That sums it
And a
up
lot of
pretty
people
good.
say he's not that fast. Doesn't have the juice. Good all-around player. Great hands.
Yeah.
All right. Number 7, Christian McCaffrey. It's finally fallen off now. Highest ranking was 5. He was 5th last year. Nobody's sure what to make because he can't stay healthy.
Yep.
And I don't think that's going to change.
I don't know what they're going to do. Like you said, they got Deontay Foreman to kind of help a little bit, basically. He can go in and really embarrass Christian McCaffrey because he can actually run, and he was mostly healthy.
NFL offensive coach said he'll be higher on this list next year. He's still young. I don't know about that. Number 6, Joe Mixon. Highest ranking 1.
Yeah. I like Mixon.
I do too, but I don't think he's the best back in the NFL. Lowest ranking out of top 10, last year's ranking 9.
Yeah.
AFC coordinator said he's improved a lot in pass protection. Detail in his work. Definitely a complete back. Always had the explosive component. Bengals are better. He's no longer an underrated player. He produces regardless of line play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's facts. I like Joe Mixon a lot, just being completely honest with you.
5, Alvin.
Yes, sir.
Highest ranking 1. I imagine everybody now has at least one number 1 vote.
Mm-hmm.
Alvin Kamara, lowest ranking 10. Last year's ranking 2. This was his least productive season.
Yeah.
Had a foot injury. Had whatever that was at quarterback as well.
Mm-hmm.
After 4 straight seasons of 80 or more catches in the NFL, exec said, slipped to 47 catches, but he's still a nightmare for us. Not having Breeze getting him the ball in the short area like he used to behind a great offensive line all those years has affected him a bit. He'll probably lose a step eventually, but there are a lot of top backs we'd rather face than him.
Goodness. Just that first sentence that he's a nightmare for us. He's so silky smooth. So is there a smoother running back than Alvin?
He's something else. Man.
He is. He's something else. I know I asked you that just blindly, but he is so smooth.
Number 4.
Who?
Dalvin Cook. Highest ranking 1, lowest ranking 8, last year's ranking 3. Some still have no problem putting Cook in their top 3. With a full season, he could put up historic numbers, but he's never played more than 14 games in any of his 5 NFL seasons. So, one NFC front office member said, I love Cook. Give me Cook all day. That burst is impressive.
Yes, it is. He is a monster. His little brother ripped Tennessee apart, too, this past year.
Yeah. So the top 3 we're going to hold over.
Hey.
Because that's what we do here. Top 3, you know who they are. The question is, in what order are they going to be?
How do they break them down?
So we're going to go in detail on that. 615-737-1045. 3, 2, and 1. That was the tease. We'll be back. Jay Martin on 1045 The Zone.
Is the summertime heat causing you to lose your cool? But don't let a broken down or older HVAC unit keep you from being comfortable in your own home. And I mean the heat, okay? It's hot outside. You don't need it hot inside of your home. It's Ramon Foster, and I have the heating and cooling company that can take care of all your HVAC needs, and they are Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. You don't think about these things until it's too late, or you got an issue, or you got everybody in the house mad at you because you didn't get your HVAC unit service. Well, let me tell you about Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. They offer free service calls with repairs, plus low monthly payments on those repairs also. And if you do need a new unit, Spring Hill Heating and Cooling offers 60 months, no interest financing. Plus, they can provide the financing for qualifying purchases and free estimates on replacement units also. And they back their work with 10-year parts and labor warranties. So when the summer is at its hottest, and have we gotten there yet? I don't know, but I'll tell you this, Spring Hill Heating and Cooling at their best. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. They're available anytime at springhillac.com.
Jay Martin, Ramon 1045 is on Ramon Foster, Jonathan Schaefer with me. I'm Jason Martin. Top 10 list of running backs is today on ESPN. We went through the honorable mention, the others receiving votes, the top 10 again quickly. And this again is Fowler's aggregated list that he puts out now every year, talking to execs and coaches and scouts and all of that kind of thing. Javonte Williams 10, Aaron Jones 9, Najee Harris 8, Christian McCaffrey 7, Joe Mixon 6, Alvin Kamara 5, Dalvin Cook 4. And that brings us to the top 3. Number 3, Nick Chubb.
Number 3.
He was 5th last year. Past 2 seasons averaged 5.6 and 5.5 yards per carry. 3.0 yards per rush after contact led the league for players with at least 120 attempts. Had another run of at least 70 yards for the 3rd time in 4 years. One veteran AFC defensive player voted Chubb number 1 overall, said what separates him is contact balance, explosion through the line, and his tape gets better throughout each year. He was 2nd in the NFL in runs of 20-plus yards with 12 behind Jonathan Taylor. Also a road game closer, averaging 6.3 yards per carry on the road. NFC exec said he was born to run the football. His problem, again, to me, and it might be a good thing for his health and longevity, is because of Kareem Hunt, he just doesn't have as many attempts as some of the other guys. He could be number 1. I've listened to discussions where he has the best skill set of everybody.
Just runner?
Yeah, just pure ability, just has it all.
Yes, he does. And if you see him, you're like, goodness gracious. He looked like, like Mike Allstott, like that type of running back, but he's a track artist on the field, man. Just watching him break away from guys and the inability of teams to be able to, like, tackle him. Like, he's shifty side to side, and that burst of his, I've seen it in person. It's real, man. I like Nick Chubb. I'm with you a little bit. Kareem being there a little bit. Like, if you had him as RB1 all the time, I think their offense would be even better with what they've had in the past.
If he had a
man.
heavier load, he might be number 1.
Yeah.
It's possible.
You look at his rush attempts too, Jay. They're relatively low for everybody else in the league. His rookie year, 192. Then he had 298, 190, and 228 last year, and still had 1,259 yards.
Right.
Kid is nice. I got to give it to him. It's surprising he hasn't been all pro, but I guess when you got Derrick and you got others that are around Alvin that make all pro too, then it's kind of tough. 3-time Pro Bowler.
Number 2, Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Highest ranking 1, lowest ranking 7. I don't know where you get that.
I don't know.
I don't know who's doing that.
Nobody's watching. Yeah.
Vrabel ranked that one? Last year he was honorable mention, which is just crazy to go back and look at that.
You tell him who he lost the tiebreaker to?
Josh Jacobs.
Grand opening.
Then he had 1,811 yards and 18 touchdowns on 332. You go into the game with the Colts and say, don't let him kill you. Make the quarterback beat you. That's an NFC executive. He's number 1, 2, and 3 on a game plan. Scout in AFC said Taylor's a total package. Humble player, incredibly hard worker to match the on-field explosion. He's only going to get better, and his breakaway speed can change the game at any time. One NFC exec calls Taylor a compiler, which is a slight in sports. Racking up yards in a favorable setup in Indy's offensive system and top-shelf offensive line play. I like him a lot. I just think he's set up for success more than most. All right. You can throw the shade. It doesn't matter. He's still got the success either way.
He does. That was a little that was a big swipe to me. That wasn't even a little swipe right there, Jay. I don't even know what to say about that, because if you look at his career even in college, he balled out then. And this isn't a Jonathan Taylor parade show right now, but this is the idea. That last little slight right there, I didn't think it was necessary. And I know it was whatever my opinion goes, but in college, he had 1,977 yards his freshman year. In 2018, he had 2,194 yards then. And then his junior year, he ended up having 2,003 yards. He averaged 6.6, 7.1, 6.3 in college with less games than the NFL goes. Now, I know the difference in competition is there, but this kid has been doing this type of stuff for a long time, or it's been proven, even going back to his college days. Now, you look at those numbers in college and say to yourself, well, that's a lot of wear, but he's still doing it right now as far as the carries in the NFL goes. You think that was a little
compiler? can be used and it's used as a slight also means you've been durable, you've been out there a lot,
Yeah.
they've had to rely on you a lot. He was set up for success with Carson Wentz as his quarterback, really? Easy.
And did he know that Indy was going to have this type of offensive line to help block for him? I mean, the year before, he didn't make the top 10.
Right.
And, he finally learned how to be a pro and what it means to run an NFL. The same thing they spoke about with Saquon a second ago, where they said he thinks everything's a home run, and it's not that. It seemed like, Jonathan Taylor's kind of figured that out a little bit and got his method down packed.
Well, to use that argument, could you not then say the same thing for Derrick Henry when you're saying you're tailoring the offense around him?
Yeah, that's
setting
where
him up for
I think
success?
they're both guilty
yeah.
of that because it's clear the offense is built around him.
They called Jonathan Taylor option 1, 2, and 3.
And so we've said the same thing virtually about Derrick Henry for 3 years.
Yeah.
And nothing wrong with it for either team unless you think that you can't win that way when it comes to actually winning a Super Bowl, which there's an argument there.
Because all of them have said, though, like in general, you know it's coming and you can't stop it regardless.
Until last year, it was Derrick Henry option 1, Derrick Henry option 2, play action option 3.
Yeah, that's right.
With AJ around. This year going into this season, until we see whatever Todd Down is going to do, what's the options for the Titans offensively? Derrick.
Right.
Derrick again. And then you feel like they'll throw a screen to Derrick or they'll throw play action. I hate to say it that way, but that's the way you kind of see it until we see what this offense is going to look like. Run left.
So number 1 is Derrick Henry. Highest ranking 1, lowest ranking 6. I bet that's the difference. Because here, I'll just read this piece to you. Henry and Jonathan Taylor tied for most first-place votes this year, but Henry won out on composite scoring. He was pacing for a 1,900-plus yard season in 2021 before a foot injury cost him 9 regular season games. I'd still give him one more year at the top, an NFL coordinator said. He's the constant for that offense. No matter who's around him, I still trust him to make it happen above anyone else. You can give him the ball 30 times, and he won't disappoint. Over the past 4 years, Henry has averaged more than 1 rushing touchdown per game, 55 in 51 games. His 10 touchdowns tied for 6 last season despite playing less than half the year. Despite averaging 4.3 yards per carry in 21, his lowest since 17, the totals dipped because of a sluggish last 2 games before the foot injury. Through the first 6 games, his 783 yards on 162 carries produced a 4.8-yard average. NFC exec said, I go Henry because everyone knows he's running the ball and their offensive line's been injured, and it largely doesn't matter. So, again, they tied first-place votes, composite scoring, and I'll bet you it's the fact that one person has him – the lowest vote for Henry is 6, and somebody has Jonathan Taylor at 7. I want to know who's voting either one of those guys 6th or 7th in a rushing list.
You know what? When you said earlier and read the description of how they ranked these, they said players did it. That's the only thing I can think of. I just don't know if front office people would be that neglectful as far as something like this goes, unless they was just jotting down, give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like A, B, C, D. You know what I'm saying? Unless somebody did that. Those dudes, if you're really looking at them, nobody below them deserves to be above them. Okay, 1, 2, and 3, Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor, and Derrick Henry.
You could put
I can
Cook
see
in
those
there.
3.
The lowest conceivably you could put them, either one of them is at 4.
At 4,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Especially if we're looking back on last year with the way the running backs played out. And I think it says a lot for Derrick still being number 1, even after only playing half of the season, too. That right there in itself is insane to me. They said he was on pace for 1,900 yards. I honestly think he could have got a little bit more if that was the case.
Yeah, I think you could take any of the top 3. SCG from T-Town saying this in the chat. The top 3 you could interchange. I think depending on who you are, you could make an argument for any of those 3 guys.
Yeah.
With Chubb, Taylor, and Henry.
Yeah.
I expected this to go Taylor, Henry, Chubb.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was anticipating. But either way, there's one quote here that I think is really important about Derrick Henry, because I think it gets to the matter of how he's trying to structure this contract and why there's a possibility he might not show up to camp and try to get this taken care of now. It's this. I'd still give him one more year at the top, an NFL coordinator said.
Yeah.
He's 28. He's coming off the first time we've really seen him injured in his career, which now he's like everybody else. Doesn't mean he's injury prone, just means doesn't mean he's going to go through unscathed for the rest of his career. Usually coming back from this injury, you don't come back with the same burst. And he's had a ton of carries, and the stats there don't favor him. One more year at the top. I'm trying to get paid because I know this football team is going to run me 400 times this year.
Yep.
That's how I read that statement from a coordinator. They're saying, we know that this is probably closer to the end than the beginning, but right now we're still going to take him over everybody else for one more year.
Mm-hmm.
So I expect that that's about right. I don't anticipate he's number one on this list next year because I do think, unless he gets hurt early and can't play very much, they're going to run him hard this year because now's the time.
Yeah.
Because he's not getting any younger. This is when you have to do this.
Yeah, and do you blame Derrick also for having a hold in? Not necessarily a hold out.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And when camp starts, and if he's not getting reps and he's only in the sand pit and working the med balls on the side and doing band work, man, you can't blame Henry because the writing's on the wall. This is I ain't gonna say it's all or nothing for him, but in your mind as a player, I think in the team's mindset, Jay, they have to build the mindset we're gonna get one good last run out of Derrick. And you hope that everything lines up. You hope the stars line up. We heard Orr yesterday, Conor Orr, just speak on the fact that, look, the Titans can get in and make a real good push as far as the playoffs goes. But it's a matter of everything lining up. Like this matchup between Ryan Tannehill and Matt Ryan has to be a focal point of both teams. And, again, these teams are so much set up the same that is.
Yes, they are.
They're like twin brothers almost in a sense. You know what I'm saying? They basically said the same thing about Jonathan Taylor as they did about Derrick Henry also. You know what the option is, and you got to go through him regardless. Derrick has breakaway speed, and so does Jonathan Taylor too. I'm just hoping for his sake, Derrick, one, gets paid because he deserves it. You say what you want to when you know you're carrying the weight of this team on your shoulders. As disrespectful as he want to be about how he approaches camp, he kind of got to have it this year because what's the options, Jay? Where are we at with guys developing? Like Bobby Trees is going to do his thing, I feel like, because the ACL is a little different these days. But with Treylon Burks and his situation, the way they've talked about that and NWI, and I know Austin Hooper wasn't the pass catcher that he was in Cleveland, although he has the ability. Chig is there. But the most confident thing about this team is Derrick freaking Henry, period. So Derrick, go get it, and, man, ride whatever waves is going to be afforded to you.
I mean, it's comforting right up until it's not, right?
It's
comforting unless he comes back and he doesn't look the same. I don't think that will happen. I do think that this is the last, real stat year he's going to have. Whatever that's going to be.
Yeah.
I predict that's probably 1,500-ish yards. If you get 1,500 yards out of him this year, considering what he's already done, that's still an incredible year, most likely. And I want to see more of Haskins. If Haskins is ready, I want to see Haskins more often, even though I still believe that this draft was all about the future, not about the present. It felt like to me this draft was our window's kind of closed. We're going to take a shot here, but we're looking at Willis. We're looking at Burks. We're looking at Haskins. We even drafted a tackle potentially.
Yep.
All of these things are set up for the future. They're not necessarily set up for right now. I don't know about this offensive line. So I don't know. I don't know what kind of space you're going to have to run through it. Got to make sure you keep your quarterback healthy.
Yep.
Certainly.
Yep.
And then Derrick, you just hope that everything is right and that you don't have some kind of recurring problem or anything else. Like this thing supposedly heals, right? I mean, he had the same injury I do. I go I go Thursday for what I hope are my final x-rays.
Yeah.
Where they'll say, all right, now it's really starting to heal. We're seeing the calcification. Everything's good. He obviously has, all world people looking at him and taking care of him throughout this process. I don't know. I went out and ran a few days ago. I wasn't necessarily worried about it. It's literally the exact same injury he has is the only reason I'm mentioning this. Obviously, his workload is much stronger than mine. But I feel good about his ability to come back from this.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of age and attrition and how many carries are on that body and how much they're going to have to place on him this year to keep them in these games against these top flight offenses. Because the best thing that Derrick Henry gives you a lot is longer possession time to keep a Patrick Mahomes or a Russell Wilson or a Derek Carr or any of these guys on the sidelines as opposed to on the field.
Yeah, 100%, man. And I know this isn't the conversation we're having right now, but I told you I was looking at what's the most touchdowns in a year that a running back has had, and it's 28 by LT, LaDainian Tomlinson. And I'm looking at his numbers. We've always had that conversation. Can Derrick get to the Hall? I think last year kind of really put a damper on that conversation a little bit, simply because and I know I'm comparing him to a guy that rarely was injured and he's already in the Hall, and there was a different style of ball that was played too, right? But with that being said, man, looking at what he did, meaning LaDainian Tomlinson, he was 5-time Pro Bowl, 3 times All-Pro. He was an AP MVP, Player of the Year. He did everything. His total rushing yards, man, was 13,684. And with that being said, I will say this as far as Derrick goes. I feel like Derrick's got to get to 10,000 yards in order to be in that conversation. He comes out this year and get another All-Pro. He get another All-Pro. I think that conversation kind of rises up a little bit.
All right, so Schaefer just in my ear said, don't compare him to LT, compare him to TD, meaning Terrell Davis.
Terrell Davis.
And because it was kind of a short burst of time. The only problem against Derrick Henry, right? All right, so let me go to Pro Football Reference.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to do it
now
live here.
I could hear that a little bit as far as one to the other.
Let's say the quiet part out loud.
What's that?
Lack of Super Bowls.
You think it's that?
Yes.
Well, LT
that's
didn't
a
get
factor.
one, though.
Because LT's numbers were so otherworldly, and what he was doing in the game was transcendent.
Here's my concern. If you want to try to make an argument, if he doesn't go out there and have 15 plus this year, okay. First year, 490. Second year, 744.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
2018, he had 1,000 yards. That was his first 1,000-yard season. Then he had 1540. Then he had 2027. And then last year, 937 before the injury. Those are impressive.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very short window.
Yeah.
That's the problem. The problem for the Hall of Fame case is you've got to keep this going. This can't be a 4-year run, get you into the Hall. He needs one more. If he goes and he has 1,500 more, I think he's in. I do.
If he has 1,500 more?
Because if he has another 1,500-yard season, because I'm not assuming that's the last year he's going to play, is why I say that. If he has 1,500 and then it becomes 1,200, whatever like that, even if it's not here.
So what would the total then be for him? Well,
he's at 67.97 right now for his career. So that gets him that gets him to 8,200 after this year if he has 1,500
So other than the
yards.
2,000-yard season, what makes him different than Eddie George?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That would give him 5 years of at least a 937 in a shortened 8-game season, but at least 1,000, then a 1,500, then a 2,000.
Because the conversation right now is about should Eddie be in to the Hall. Again, if you don't have the crazy yards, then you got to have the Super Bowls to kind of back it up also, right?
If they would have won the Super Bowl over the Rams, Eddie is definitely in. Steve's probably in.
Mm-hmm.
I really think it makes that big of a difference.
Mm-hmm. It's a matter of that ring right there. It's stamping the legacy.
For borderline candidates?
Yeah, for borderline guys.
Because Rhett was even in studio one day saying that if you look at Steve McNair's career numbers to Troy Aikman's,
they're spot on.
They're very similar.
Are they really?
But Troy Aikman's a 3-time champion.
Yep. He owned an era by having a ring or 3.
And that's the thing is that I'm not saying Derrick Henry doesn't deserve to be there. I'm just providing the argument that why it might not happen. And that's because he will have owned a few years.
Mm-hmm.
He will have not owned an era.
He would not have owned an era.
And especially an era where the game was much more pass heavy.
He has 55 touchdowns in his last 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what he would have finished with if he hadn't gotten hurt last year.
Yeah.
I just find it hard to believe he goes out and has another 1,500-yard year. And then, of course, I'm not saying then he ends his career.
Right.
But as long as he has another couple 1,000-yard seasons on top of that, you're looking at a guy that, again, to me, he hasn't owned an era, but he's been sort of like the avatar. He's the only running back until Taylor's been talked about. He's really the only running back that's been talked about along with quarterbacks as a potential MVP of the league.
Right.
Taylor just emerged after Henry got hurt last year.
But they're not even calling him MVP status.
No, they tried to do that last year, but then they backed off it a little bit.
Yeah.
Derrick feels different to me. He looks different. Everything about him feels different. Now, if he comes out and he's not the same this year, I hate to say it, but he ain't getting in.
Here's what makes him different. He's got the highlight reel. He's got the Josh Norman play.
He does have that.
He's got the Earl Thomas play.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
He's got the Jags
stuff.
play.
He's got stuff that felt supernatural almost.
So it's a matter of those first couple of years really just biting him in the butt right now, too.
Yeah, because right now the sample size to me is too small to put him in. Like now you can't do it. He's had 4 years. Last year, unfortunately, he got hurt, so he didn't hit 1,000.
Yep.
Man, that's the problem. You had a guy that was on the verge of being traded.
Let me say this.
Yeah.
That one might be too few. Let's say 2 more.
Two
Near
more what?
1,500-yard years.
He need about 1,500 this year and another.
If he has 2 more
1,500.
1,500-yard years, then that's going to be 10,000 yards.
10,000 yards.
In a 6-year span that matters after 2 from his rookie and second year. You won't knock him if he has 6 years and a compiled 10,000 yards over that 6-year span.
Who's the last running back we've seen be old and still ball out like that? Like starting, not just spot. Like Adrian Peterson. Did he get 1,000 at like being an older guy?
Well,
Like,
I mean, he's not an old.
question.
Well, that's the thing, though. He's not an older guy. He's only old because of this position, meaning
but
Derrick Henry.
that's true.
Like Adrian Peterson, 2007 to 2021, right?
Yeah.
So he had 1341 as a rookie, then 1760, then 1383, then 1298, then 970, then 2097, then 1266.
Mm-hmm.
That's 7 years to open his career with at least 970 rushing yards.
Mm-hmm.
And the year he didn't hit 1,000, he only played 12 games.
Yeah, it was at 970.
He had 1266 in 14 games. Then he had the one game for 75 yards. And then he came back and had 1485 after the injury.
That's when he got put on the exempt list in 2014 for the child abuse. I think
Is that
it had
what it
to have been
was?
it. It
I
had
thought
to.
it was either that or when he got hurt and then came back and near. But I think that
Well, he
was
got
actually-
hurt
he got
before,
hurt. Yeah,
and then he
hurt
got the
before, then he had
2000.
2000. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. So all of that,
So just
all of that just to say that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years of almost 1,000 yards. Then he had another 1,000-yard year in 2018 in Washington that people forget about. So he's had 15,000 yards in his career. Has Adrian Peterson?
so he did that as a starter also in Washington.
I think
too.
I think Derrick needs 2 more years. I do. Now that I think about it and look at it statistically, I think he needs 2 more about 1,500-yard years, and I think you can easily make the argument.
Well, the way I'm looking at this too, as far as Derrick doing this as a Titan, is probably unlikely too. We're way past right now. Wow.
I know we got way late. I didn't even realize what time
I
it
didn't
was.
see what time it was.
We'll come back. We'll talk more. 615-737-1045. Jay Martin and Mo, 1045 The Zone.
As leaders in disaster cleanup and restoration, the pros at ServPro are prepared for anything, like when a relief valve on your water heater fails and it pours gallons of water into your finished basement. ServPro is prepared for it. Or when an electrical shortage in your office causes extensive smoke and water damage, ServPro is prepared for it. Or a musty odor indicates you might have a mold problem. ServPro is prepared for that too. You need a lot more than help sometimes cleaning up, and that's why ServPro is your one-stop shop when disaster strikes. Not only do they have the equipment and expertise to clean up damage from fire, water, or mold, but they also offer a variety of construction services ranging from drywall patching and document drying all the way to complete structure rebuilds. There's just one call you need to make to bring your home or business back as good as new and as soon as possible. So if you're in need of cleanup from fire, water, or any unpleasant event, ServPro is always ready to help. Call ServPro and the official downtown Nashville operators at 800-ServPro to see how we can help you get back to like it never even happened. The number is 800-SERVPRO. That's ServPro. Cleaning, restoration, construction, and franchises are independently owned and operated.
Tune in to 3HL July 18th through the 21st for their coverage of SEC Media Days. Listen in to hear all the latest information and interviews during 4 days filled with SEC football conversation at the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta, Georgia. 3HL's coverage of SEC Media Days presented by Brentwood Hearing Center. For more info and also schedule of interviews, visit 1045thezone.com/events today.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. Welcome back. 615-737-1045. Ben McKee would join us in the second segment next hour. ESPN actually moved the Vols up in terms of their recruiting rankings, I think, to 6th yesterday.
They were like 12. I was like, oh,
they were 16.
Okay.
No, it was 16 to 8.
16?
I think it was 16 to 8.
Yeah, Rivals had them at 5, and then ESPN ended up moving theirs up
Did they?
quite a bit after the recruits from the weekend.
I'm trying to figure out their difference between others as far as recruiting.
I don't know what any of that stuff
Because
is.
they only got like
man.
five stars on theirs, but like 24/7 and Rivals got like a plethora of like 5 stars. It's interesting.
I think the
difference.
Bradley kid was a 4-star here, 5-star here. I don't know.
ESPN had him 4. They also had Nico as a 4, but he's 5 everywhere else. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what I don't know about recruiting anymore, Jay. I ain't got a clue. Can I read you something about recruiting real quick unless we're going back and running back?
Go right ahead.
This is hilarious. I just quote tweeted this from an account called Board Geniuses.
All right.
I guess they go scouring through like message boards for colleges. And this is from a South Carolina fan, man. This guy puts on a message board, serious question about UT. I've seen people mention their NIL deals when it comes to recruiting. Ask questions about how we can recruit against schools with more money, etc. What makes us fall below UT? We have a larger enrollment. Columbia and Knoxville are essentially the same size. It's not some super well-respected school where grads command huge salary. It isn't like Athens with the city of $4 million an hour away. They don't have better, they don't have better in-state talent. We produce more NFL players and about twice as many per capita. We're just as close to recruiting hotbed Atlanta and closer to Charlotte and Florida. Lastly, this is where it gets crazy. Lastly, they are hillbillies. My wife, who was originally from Mississippi, has spent most of her life in South Carolina, attended a funeral in Knoxville. She called me just to tell me she's never heard the backwoods redneckedness like she was hearing there. I said, honey, it would be better when you get into town. She said, I'm in downtown Knoxville. That's what I'm talking about. The guy says, what am I missing? South Carolina, is there really a hate for UT in that manner, Jay, to where it's just like they can't understand recruiting? Or is it just nobody wants to go to South Carolina? Like, is it that was
Columbia's a great place to play football. It's a great stadium and all that.
Yeah.
I lived in that state for a long time. It's still, I mean,
what's
it's
their
South
issues
Carolina.
with recruiting then? It's just South Carolina?
I mean, we'll see what. Look, if you start to win
I mean, well,
consistently
yeah.
and it's Beamer,
Yeah.
I think he can encourage some guys, and he's brought in a lot of the past guys to come back and do it right and all this. I think Muschamp hurt him.
Muschamp heard them.
Muschamp didn't go. It did not go very well, man.
Yeah. Like I say, we got Ben McKee coming. I got to ask him a question since he's more embedded in it than probably us. Are like, I know we make a big deal about the NIL's Inspire Collective Group and whatnot, but like, do other universities, are they gaining this much traction? Is there a big conversation around their NIL collectives also? Or is it just Spire is the one we know, so we only talk about that?
Well, Texas A&M.
A&M's pretty well. I mean,
Miami.
Jimbo denied it.
Look at Miami now.
Jimbo denied
With
it.
I don't care what Jimbo said. Look at Cristobal down there at Miami now.
Well, yeah.
Because what was one of Miami's biggest issues? Money.
Funding.
And
Did you
now
know that's
that NIL has opened up?
yeah?
That changed the ball game for
That's
them
a
again.
private school, by the way.
Yeah.
You know that. You knew that.
Mhm.
I had no idea Miami was a private school. Considering the way they were in the '90s and early 2000s.
615-737-1045. Ben McKee will join us probably 25 minutes from right now. You won't want to miss that conversation. We'll come back and talk a little bit more. We can still certainly take your thoughts at 737-1045 on the running back scenario. We're going to look at Danny White's 5-year plan
Yeah.
a little bit when we come back to set up our conversation with Ben McKee. Won't want to miss that. It's Jay Martin on 1045 The Zone.
8:02. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. Philip Forsberg and National Predators general manager David Poile spoke with the media yesterday, formally announcing the 8-year deal that keeps Forsberg in Nashville.
The only thing we're missing is the Stanley Cup, and that's the main driver for all of us. I mean, that's the motivation in the summer. That's when you try to get better for. And individual stuff is fun and all, but at the end of the day, I want to sit back in the couch and look at a Stanley Cup ring, and that's my ultimate motivation.
Forsberg is the franchise's all-time leading goal scorer. Also had career highs last season in goals, assists, and points. To Major League Baseball, Mets defeated the Braves 4-1 in the first game of a 3-game set in Atlanta. Max Scherzer, 7 innings pitched, 9 strikeouts for the Mets, who are now 2.5 games ahead of the Braves in the NL East. Roy Foundation Repair and Waterproofing needs. Visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your Over the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? Welcome in. It's Jay Martin Ramon, third hour of the program here on this Tuesday. Ramon Foster, Jonathan Schaefer, Jason Martin are our names. At Ramon Foster, at Schaefer on Sports, at J Mart Radio, at J Mart and Ramon. Those are our follows. Ben McKee will join us in the next segment. We'll take some balls.
Yeah.
Topics on with him. Rise Glorious. 5-year Tennessee Athletics strategic plan, Danny White. It was put out by Tennessee Athletics, obviously been aggregated and put out by a bunch of sites since that point. There's a lot here.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is the same kind of stuff you find from like any corporation that was putting together mission statements and all this other kind of stuff. Danny White said to UT Sports, it's a very clear roadmap for accomplishing Tennessee Athletics' mission of leading the way in college sports. This plan outlines why Tennessee Athletics exists, how we must approach each day in order to attain all of our specific goals for the next 5 years, establish the standards we all must live by. Staff, coaches, student athletes, campus community, and fans alike as we restore Tennessee Athletics to the front of the pack. Student athletes success is one portion of it, and there's 4 objectives there. Leveraging the impact of sport to holistically develop our student athletes, empowering each of them to succeed in educational and competitive endeavors while preparing them for life beyond athletics. Culture, attract goal-driven, intensely competitive teammates to strengthen our family-oriented, innovative, and fearless culture as Tennessee Athletics is a career destination. I stop there and I say that's the one thing we talked about after Pruitt was hypo in the culture and whether or not that would happen, because that was the change that was needed, was welcoming you back, welcoming Gerard back, welcoming Josh Dobbs back, welcoming everybody that wanted everybody, all these guys, welcome them back into the fold to be around the young guys, to be around the program, to be dialed in again.
And that's actually where I didn't stop reading, but that was one of my And they're actually, you know, people make these goals and do stuff all the time. You get a bunch of fluff and hot air when, you know, this type of stuff come out. But after seeing that, and you're right, Jay, like I've seen guys post what they've received from the University of Tennessee when honestly it was just either scholarship players or guys that were in the NFL. And they've included a lot of guys that you know, were they lettered at Tennessee, but they were probably walk-ons, didn't play a whole lot. A lot of names that you didn't know. And that's the one thing I will say they have delivered on, man, is bringing anybody that has pretty much put on a jersey back into the fold. And there's a lot of resources in that too. There's a lot of power in those types of numbers of having people come around. You saw how we were able to we had access to stuff I don't think we probably should have, just simply because their culture setting that Danny White is trying to install for a guy that's not an SEC guy who's brought his guy to the SEC.
They're rolling out the orange carpet.
Yeah, they're rolling out the orange carpet.
Yeah, and it's working out. So in that, objective 1, create and sustain a welcoming, supportive, inclusive environment. 1.2, aggressively invest resources into the growth and development of the team. Actively engage, embrace, and communicate with all constituents across Tennessee Athletics. It's being active in communication, and embrace is the word. Embrace is you matter when you're here. Help us to grow, be part of a cohesive vision, all of that. Resources. Goal, aggressively build our resource base to empower coaches and student athletes to compete at the highest levels by engaging all stakeholders and capitalizing on the passion and power of all nation. Without saying it, that includes Spire.
Yeah.
That's in effect, because stakeholders are your alumni.
Yeah.
They are your boosters. They are things of that nature. Brand advancement and messaging.
Yeah.
One thing, and we said this when this show began, we've said this amongst ourselves, like, what's our identity going to be?
Yeah.
Rather than try to figure it out, we wanted it to organically eventually we'd figure it out. Like, it would come to us. We weren't going to sit down and say, here's what this show is going to be. It's like, no, we're going to do the show, and then the show's going to tell us what the vision is, what the objective is, what it is that we are doing, what our hope is when we do this show. Strengthen meaningful connections to the athletics program, modernize the way we tell the volunteer story nationally and globally through the power of the T.
Yeah.
Bold visual identity, clear messaging strategy. Connect and engage with a new generation to grow the brand while embracing the rich tradition of Tennessee. Empower, educate, unify athletic department staff and the Tennessee community on all brand and messaging standards.
Yeah.
So, again, a lot of it is the expected stuff you would see.
Yeah.
Wants the Learfield Directors Cup among SEC.
Was huge.
Want to finish in the top 15 in 3 out of every 5 years while consistently winning SEC and national championships across the board. Consistently win national championship. Consistently win conference championships. Finish in the top third of the conference standings annually. Strategy. Each sport will win a conference championship at least once every 5 years. Tennessee Athletics aims to capture 5 conference championships in one academic year while averaging at least 3 conference championships per year over the next 5 years. You're not going to say anything other than this. You're going to put this in a plan.
Yeah.
There's no real way to everybody's going to say the same exact thing here. Like, I see this and it's just like, well, of course that's going to be, but that's not even the strategy.
Yeah.
That's not really a strategy.
No.
Like, strategy is you just got to go win. Like, it's not like you're a company and here's our strategy and we're going to do this, and this to get X project done.
Right.
Because it's not just you working for your project. It's everyone else working against you, which is what the beauty of sport is.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I thought the bullet points were pretty good about what his mission is. I don't think I've ever paid attention to an AD the way I have with him, simply because, one, the way Pruitt was outed, you know what I'm saying, the way this transition happened as far as picking Danny White and stuff like that and him bringing in his coach, I was just like, well, let me dive in. Plus, I also got a little bit more time since I'm not playing ball anymore. But learning about him and his family, they're a family of administrators, right? College administrators. With this type of stuff, you kind of see it. Now, again, I don't know if this is much different from an Alabama AD or a Nebraska AD or an Ohio State AD. But again, with me having time to see this type of stuff happen, I don't know if we've seen other ADs kind of put this type of thing out.
But
in
you know
this
what,
fashion.
Mo? At least it's a statement of intent.
And that's what I'm really getting
because
at.
we haven't had that with the University of Tennessee for quite some time. And even Coach Fulmer, when he was on with us a couple of months ago, even mentioned that there was a lot of fence mending and a lot of siloing that occurred within the department and donors and what have you. Is that I would think for you, Ramon, as a Vol for Life, certified Vol for Life, between the president, the AD, and the coaches, Barnes in there, Kelly Harper in there as well, and Vitello in there as well. This is probably the most comfortable and or confident you feel about this athletics department in a long time.
It is. And win, lose, or draw, however they're going about it, it seems to me that the process has a whole lot of intent to it. There are actually goals amongst the group. And with these coaches being relatively new or still young in their careers at Tennessee, essentially, with how they've operated, Vitello, Rick Barnes, Heupel, Kelly, like all of them, Kelly Harper, just it seems like there's nobody choosing to be the king of the hill. Well, you know, when Foreman was there, it was kind of like him and Patton and everybody else. With this one, it's almost like you get a better teammate simply because everybody's fighting to try to get UT at a point to where, as it said in here, respectable again. Like, that's the biggest thing, is get back to the respect factor of it all.
Yeah.
Whether you're winning conference championships or not. We brought this up a little bit as far as, what's the goal for Tennessee moving forward, even with recruiting. It's to be competing with the ones that you should be beating and leaving everybody else behind. Again, Georgia, Alabama got their thing going on. But as far as other sports going, baseball has did its thing. Basketball's done its thing. Lady Vols have done their thing also. And just all of the minority sports too. Tennis, golf, volleyball. Everything has kind of, I think they're saying they won 4 conference championships on both sides, men's and women's. So getting football to that point of competing too is going to be huge, but there's absolutely no ego or no king of the hill, as I just said a second ago, in dealing with this.
Right. And to Schaefer's point, and we'll have Ben McKee of VolQuest on the other side. And Bam, I know Bam wants to talk about Derrick Henry, and I want to take that call as well, but we'll do it right before we take Ben. But I think that the point is you don't look at the university and snicker the way you did 3 years ago. I think that's the difference. Like right now, you look at the university and you're like, they're building something.
Yeah.
You don't know exactly how big that building's going to be yet.
Right.
You don't know if it's Dubai
Burj Khalifa.
or if it's the old Sears Tower or what. You don't know how big the building is, but you can see that they're building something.
Yeah.
They're working as a unit. They're working as a group. They're working as a university. That's why I don't read this and think it's hollow.
Right.
Because I think a lot of it's already been. And you're already seeing some of that stuff in motion. Danny White's just putting it down in words and saying, well, here's what we're trying to do.
Right.
And he's trying to make the right hires. He hasn't had to make a lot of the hires yet. The best thing that he's done so far is make sure Vitello didn't leave.
And Rick. No, it wasn't Rick, no. But the fact that Rick is still there.
Yeah. Right. I mean, he's keeping guys there that are there, and he did. And the Heupel hire so far has panned out well.
Yeah, because Fulmer kept Rick there.
Yeah, he did. Sure did.
Yeah. So it all just sort of makes sense. You look at that, you look at Knoxville again, and you say, that's a group that seems to have their head on straight. And that I don't think you could say 3 years ago. I really don't. And I know you couldn't say it 5 years ago.
Last year. 2 years ago.
I'm trying, man.
We're just living in hope.
I'm trying to say you've had more hope than you have. We'll come back. Ben McKee at VolQuest will join us. We'll take Bam's call. It's Jay Martin Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. If you're noticing doors and windows sticking or cracks in your bricks, basement wall is bowing, chimneys leaning, steps are sinking, all these are signs of foundation issues with your home. These are things that aren't DIY fixes most of the time. These are big time. They require certain equipment, certain expertise, technique, and somebody you can trust. And that's United Structural Systems. They are problem solvers. A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. They got that. They've been in Middle Tennessee for over a quarter of a century. Locally owned. They've got that. They, again, customize solutions for you depending on your needs. They come out and assess the situation and give you a free estimate, detailed before you have to make a decision. There's no down payment as you're going through the process if you say, yeah, I need you to do this job. Sometimes there's no job to do, and they're willing to tell you that as well. There's financing available, lifetime warranties, including transferable warranties, repairs guaranteed for the lifetime of your home. USS flat out takes the stress out of home repair. Call for the free estimate. Find out how much it's going to cost to fix from the people I trust. The telephone number is 615-227-2275. Again, that's 227-2275, or go to USSTN.com, United Structural Systems. J. Martin, Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Ben McKee of VolQuest to join us momentarily. But before we get there, Cuzzo Bam. What's up, Bam?
Yo, how everybody feeling this morning?
Doing good, man.
Yo, my question, I was targeting more so the running back with Derrick Henry thing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say for some not strange reason, because anything could happen, but if he just happens to get close to a 2K year or exceed a 2K year, does that argue his reason for getting another extension, or do you think they'll bring him back if he has a better year than what everybody's expecting? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I also think we really need to look out for Austin Hooper this year. I just got a feeling him and Kyle Phillips are going to have breakout years, But that was my main question about Derrick, though.
Yeah. Well, about Austin Hooper, I think a lot of people are on your side on that one, Bam, including Jonathan Shea. Actually, I think we all think Austin Hooper may have he may go back to being the guy he was in Atlanta, as opposed to letting David Njoku get all the balls in Cleveland.
Yeah. If Derrick get another 2,000-yard season, even with the 17th, I still think that could be a strong case for getting in the Hall of Fame.
Well, his call was whether or not it's about a contract extension.
What contract?
And I would say it might hurt his case because he's probably going to have a lot of touches.
I was going to say 1 year extension.
See,
maybe
it's not about the yardage; it's the usage.
Yeah, it's about the mileage on those tires.
Yeah.
When it comes to Derrick Henry.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too.
33rd team, Mike Tannenbaum's website, by the way, has put out a list of this. Literally, we talked about this not knowing this was coming, but it basically goes through and ranks all the active players in the NFL that have a shot to make the Hall of Fame and tiers them out. So we're actually going to talk about that to open the 9 o'clock hour. So the timing on that couldn't have been better. But Ben McKee is on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. He, of course, of VolQuest. Ben, what's going on?
What's up, Ben?
Not a whole lot. Just sitting here daydreaming about Najee Harris and Pat Freiermuth in the Hall of Fame one day.
Well, Najee made the top 10 list, the Jeremy Fowler list. We talked about it earlier. Maybe if you guys can have an offensive line,
we pay.
I mean, you haven't had one for probably 20 years.
You see?
Don't do Ramon like that. Come on now.
You see what I got to deal with daily, man? They say bullying is not supported, and here we are getting bullied on air about something. Come on, man. Help me out.
That's very unfair. I think you deserve a raise for the amount of bullying that you have to deal with.
Hey,
I don't think you understand how much money this man already has. We don't need to give him more.
Ben, numbers never end, okay? Numbers never end, all right? It's never enough.
Oh, so we saw the 5-year plan, Ben, from Danny White. I mean, it's pretty standard. It's kind of stuff any good organization, corporation would put out there. I think the thing that really stands out from it, one, is the importance on culture, and we've already seen that, welcoming back and embracing guys from the past, letting them be around the team again. When we were there for the orange and white game last year, man, they rolled out the red carpet. I called it the orange carpet for Moan and Slay, certainly, but just gave us access to stuff we weren't expecting that day and have treated us great. And it does seem like for the first time in a while, this is the way I said it, I think you look at Tennessee now from afar, we can look at Knoxville and not snicker underneath our breath about the condition of the athletics department. It seems like right now there is a cohesive feeling to me. I don't know how big the building will be, how tall it will be, but I can say, hey, yeah, man, they're building something over there.
That's my feeling too. I think it's just more of a sign that you have people in important positions that actually know what they're doing, and there's just not a lot of chaos going on over there at the moment. And I am a little on the younger side, so my memory doesn't go back too far, but I mean, the athletic department, in my opinion, is in its best shape. I mean, probably since Ramon was there.
Yeah.
When you had Bruce Pearl and Pat Summitt and Philip Fulmer, and you were rocking and rolling, and you had plenty of leadership, and everything seemed to be good on that front. So this 5-year plan, I don't have any great opinions about it. I mean, it's pretty standard. They want to increase the operating budget, which – with as many head coaches they've had to pay the last decade or two, you can certainly understand why they want to increase the operating budget from around $170 million to $200 million within these next 5 years. They want to increase season ticket holders, especially with the football side of things, because that number dropped to around 50,000 this past season after being up near 67, 70,000 pre-pandemic. So who knows how much the pandemic impacted season ticket sales, but they want to get back up to 70,000 by 2026, and then they certainly expect every sport to win an SEC title. And it's just a lot of things that go without being said, in my opinion. At a place like Tennessee, there's no reason every program on campus should not be competing for the SEC East or the SEC or to win a national championship each and every single season, because you have the resources to do so at a place like Tennessee. So a lot of this is just stating the obvious to me, but to your point, I think what it says even more is just that there's just competent people running the athletic department now, and it really hasn't felt that way in many, many years. And surely that has to make fans feel really, really great.
With that being said, this Rise Glorious, bullet points that they put out in general, I have to ask you, though, because this is my first time really paying attention to this type of thing. Is this standard, operating procedure as far as what he just released in the goals for this team? And does it actually seem real to the people who are in Knoxville and the ones you talk to daily about how Danny White is going about this?
Well, he's certainly genuine in terms of wanting to meet these specific goals, and he wants to be transparent with the fans, and because I think in sports today, college athletics, professional ranks, there's not a ton of communication with people in charge, I guess, especially like a place like Tennessee, where it seems like in the past, chancellors and athletic directors have kind of hid when things aren't going all that well. And this is Danny White just wanting to be transparent and lay it all on the table and make sure that even the fans are aligned and understand that winning is also important to him, but also understanding that it's also his job, yes, to put a winning product on the field, but he also has to make sure that the budget is going well, and you do that by season ticket sales. And Neyland Stadium is the top of the top in terms of atmospheres and stadiums in college sports, football, basketball, whatever. I'd say all of sports, not just college sports, but it needs updates. It needs renovations, as we've seen this offseason, and we will continue to see in the upcoming offseason. Tennessee baseball obviously needs a lot of help with Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Thompson Bowling Arena, it could use a facelift for sure. So the only way you're going to accomplish those things is by increasing the budget, by increasing ticket sales. So it's more than Danny White's job than just to put a winning product on the field. That's the most important job. But the athletic director wears many hats, and he just wants to be transparent about everything that he wants to accomplish. And I think part of that is because you don't see that a whole lot in sports, and many like to run and hide. Many, in terms of those who are in positions of leadership, they run and hide when things aren't going well. And I don't think Danny White would do that if things weren't going well, and he just really wants to lay it out on the table and make sure that his vision is crystal clear to everybody following Tennessee athletics.
So it was sort of a murky position, the Tennessee football coach following Jeremy Pruitt. There were a lot of guys that weren't even going to consider it, and then you started wondering who are you going to get? It turns out to be Josh Heupel, and Danny White has a connection there, and some people are down on that immediately. One of the knocks on Josh Heupel was recruiting. Well, now they're 8th in the country, according to ESPN, with moving up from 15. They've got 6 ESPN 300 commits. We know about Chendavian Bradley last week, also a top receiver coming in, Cam. And then I look at it and I just wonder this. Has recruiting moved away from just being, like, if it's a knock on the coach, it doesn't matter as much anymore because of things like Spire, because of the collectives and the way the NIL and all of that has changed the game to where if you're not an elite recruiter, you actually have some other things on your side to help you out. I'm not saying Josh Heupel wouldn't have landed these guys without it. I'm just suggesting that knock might not have turned out to be nearly as big a deal because of the way college sports has changed.
Yeah, I think that's certainly a great point. I mean, you look at a guy like Mike Leach at Mississippi State who just absolutely hates recruiting. Maybe the NIL can help him not recruit as much as he would like. I mean, it can make up for his lack of desire to recruit, because you're not going to make it, in my opinion, at really anywhere in college athletics, not wanting to recruit. That is the lifeblood of your program. It doesn't matter if it's the soccer program, the volleyball, baseball, football, whatever. You have to recruit and have a desire to recruit, especially in the SEC. So Mike Leach not wanting to recruit in the SEC is not great in my opinion. But with people like Spire, with the benefits of the NIL, that can help him recruit despite that lack of desire to recruit. So I certainly think that can help Tennessee for sure. But I always thought that the criticism, if you want to call it that, about Josh Heupel and his inability to recruit, I thought it was always ridiculous. He was at UCF, and UCF is the best non-Power 5 school out there. There's no doubt about it. But he's not going to be bringing in top 5, top 10, top 15 recruiting classes at UCF. It's just not going to happen. And he's always been a genuine person, from my understanding. I still think that he is a genuine person in the sense of what he says he truly means. I truly have not heard a bad word about him personally. Behind the scenes, obviously, in front of the curtain for everybody to hear, I have not heard a single bad thing about Josh Heupel personally. He really relates to the players. He really relates to the recruits. And you're starting to see that pay off now. Last year, he was still having to deal with the NCAA cloud and the murkiness of the waters with Jeremy Pruitt, Tennessee still being in an NCAA investigation. Technically, they're still in that NCAA investigation. But I always thought the criticism of him not being able to recruit was silly because I knew his personality. And if you can be genuine with these high school kids, they're going to gravitate towards you. And he is certainly doing that this recruiting class. And look, he's also benefiting from being at Tennessee. That Power T still sells. That Power T may be a little faded from the sun, but it's still a big brand. And people know the Power T, and that has certainly helped Josh Heupel elevate his recruiting ability as well. And I also think he's done a great job of bringing in some big-time assistants. Rodney Garner, Willie Martinez, Alex Golish has really recruited well. Joey Halsley has recruited well as well.
Eckler.
Yes, Eckler has been a maniac, as we all know. He's been awesome. Glenn Ellerby, I don't think people really realize that offensive linemen really do love their relationships with him. So I think there's a bunch of different factors. But to get back to the basic point is I always thought the comments about Josh Heupel not being able to recruit were silly because I really did think he would be able to recruit at Tennessee because of the Tennessee brand and because he's genuine and he can relate to these kids. And you see it all the time with his current players and with the guys that he's recruiting.
Looking at this class as of right now, Jay said ESPN got him 8. 24/7 has him at 5, and Rivals have him at 5 also. That's fine right now, but they have to get signed and on campus too. But if you look at the breakdown, it's heavy defensive. I thought with Nico it would be a whole lot more offensive players in this recruiting class, and they got some high stars there. But how do you view this class? Do you think this was strategic as far as them being very defensively centric with this 2023 class?
Yes, I do, because people watched Tennessee's defense last season and realized that it cost them some ball games, specifically the Music City Bowl. I mean, that should have been a 8-win Tennessee team in Josh Heupel's first season, but the defense prevented them from doing so. And it wasn't all the defense in that Music City Bowl. The offense wasn't clicking on all cylinders like it had been for the majority of the season, but the defense really bit them in the butt last year. Go back and look at the Pitt game, and again, not all on the defense, but a good chunk of it was on the defense, in my opinion. And Nico and receivers and all the skill position players are fun and sexy. And as you know, Ramon, that's all fun and sexy, but you're not going to win football games if you're not able to protect the quarterback and if you're not able to get after the quarterback and win in the trenches. So I think there's been a heavy emphasis placed on offensive line play and also being able to get after the quarterback. And the additions of Shandavian Bradley and Caleb Herring, I think, are tremendous. That's back-to-back years now, recruiting cycles in which Josh Heupel has brought in 2 really elite pass rushing prospects. Last year it was Joshua Josephs and James Pierce, and now you're bringing in Caleb Herring and Shandavian Bradley, and there's other big-time defensive players coming in as well. I really love Christian Conyer from up the road from y'all in Bowling Green. You've got some other defensive linemen, Nathan Robinson, Trevor Duncan, Tyree Weathersby, some linebackers in Jeremiah Thielander and Jalen Smith, who are both from the state of Georgia and kind of flying under the radar. In a typical year, Jalen Smith is probably a guy that Georgia takes, but just had a guy or two in front of him on their board, and it wasn't necessarily anything that they didn't like about Jalen Smith, just more so to do with the other guys and their belief in them. So for Tennessee to be able to go into Georgia and get a tackling machine and Jalen Smith from Buford there in the heart of Georgia says a lot about Tennessee's plan this recruiting cycle to make sure they address their defensive needs, but also not only are they just getting bodies for those needs. It's one thing to get bodies for your needs. It's another to get good bodies for those needs. And I think they're getting really talented players at those needs on the defensive side of the ball and also along the offensive line.
And to Moan's point, get them on campus. Like, until they're there, they're not there. And we all know how that can change real quickly. So I will continue to say last year it was about looking fun to be there. It wasn't as much about wins and losses for me. This year it's the opposite. This year, you want to build off that because you don't want the kids that are potentially coming in, these young men that are going to be the future of your program, to see a 4-8 season and then decide to reopen their recruiting or see who else might be able to offer them money somewhere else. This year needs to be kind of an 8-5 year, right?
Yes, you need to see progress. And honestly, now with the fans, some may not think realistically that happens in every fan base, obviously. Aside from just looking at the win-loss record, I think it's more important to not lose to the Kentuckys and the South Carolinas and the Missouris, the teams who, yes, are better. Kentucky, South Carolina, Missouri, those are not automatic W's. They're not, because those programs have gotten better in the last year or two, specifically South Carolina and Missouri with Shane Beamer, Eli Drinkwitz. I think Tennessee wins those games. I think Tennessee is better than those two teams, but they're not going to be cakewalks. You're going to have to go to South Carolina, and that can be a somewhat difficult place to play at times. But although those programs have gotten better X's and O's wise, and the Jimmies and the Joes, fans still see the logo on the side of the helmet. That's been the big thing with Kentucky. Kentucky football is a legitimate football program at the moment because of Mark Stoops. And Mark Stoops hasn't had a ton of success against Tennessee, but he has 2 10-win seasons in the last 4 at Kentucky. So that is a good football team. It's not an automatic dub like it used to be when Ramon was playing. And fans still think of it as an automatic dub. And so you can't lose to those teams in year 2, in my opinion, because those are the type of losses that will really, really irritate the fan base and have, not that it necessarily matters in year 2, but have some portion of the fan base turn against you. And you certainly don't want that. But also on the other hand, if you take care of those games, it's going to work hand in hand, where if you take care of those games, you're going to be flirting with the 7 to 8 win range, and I think Tennessee will be in that range. I had a question last night: do I lean more 7 wins or 9 wins? And I do lean more towards the 7 wins side of thing, just because I need to see the defense improve. And there's some question marks on offense. Who's going to be the tackle opposite of Darnell Wright to protect Hendon Hooker? Can somebody step up? Brew McCoy, Jalen Hyatt step up and help Cedric Tillman take some pressure off of him? So there are some questions still with this team, but I think it's just so important to not lose to those, I call them kind of the logo teams, where again, fans just kind of look at the logo rather than what's actually on the field, the product on the field. And then Pittsburgh and Florida, I mean, those 2 games are different this year, in my opinion, especially that Florida game.
Yes.
Especially that Florida game, just because first-year coach, and they've kind of lost a lot on offense and defense. It's at home. And we know Tennessee struggles with Florida, but feels like if there was ever a year for Tennessee to get Florida, it'd be this year.
Yeah, that's the way we feel. We're going to be there for that game, as a matter of fact, doing a broadcast beforehand. Probably at Calhoun's again.
Yeah, is that what we're trying to settle on?
I think that's where we're probably going to be. Hopefully it will not end the same way the last time we broadcasted for the Ole Miss game, Hopefully we're not going to have mustard thrown on the field and golf balls and all of that. But, yeah, should be good. Good stuff, Ben. We always appreciate it, man. Thanks so much. God bless.
Yeah, guys. Appreciate you having me on. Hope
Indeed,
y'all have
man.
a great rest of your summer.
Yeah, you too. That's
too.
Ben McKee of VolQuest. Good stuff from him.
Good.
John Morant talked about Michael Jordan again.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't, but ESPN thought he did.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you about that when we come back. Jay Martin and Mo 104.5 The Zone.
Beat the heat with Window Nation, where, listen to me, you can save $200 off any style new window from Window Nation. Plus, pay nothing until 2024, where you can also, with Window Nation, lower your energy bills and raise the value of your home with new energy-efficient windows, Jason, from Window Nation, my fellow brother.
Weather impacts your windows. Just walk up to your window, take your palm, put it against the window. If it's warm, you may have a seal failure. Happened to me. Last week when Window Nation was in the house on Friday, we found 4. I'm glad we didn't find more than 4, but we found 4. Caulk cracking, seal failures, condensation. Sometimes you just think all that stuff, I just need to go out and clean that window off. No, that might not be what it is. That might be a seal failure. Window Nation uses top-of-the-line materials. That includes mold spray, Quad Max sealant, toughest against all weather conditions. You're just letting your energy savings flow out the window. Literally, like 30, 40% higher energy costs because your HVAC is pumping out all that air and it's just going right out the window. You've got to get this taken care of, just like I'm set up to do right now. Save $200 off any style window from Window Nation with every 2 you buy. No payments, no interest until 2024. You're going to save thousands, both on the windows and your energy bills, all while upgrading the look and feel of your home. You got to take advantage. Call them today, 866-90-NATION. That's 866-90-NATION, or online where, Mo?
At windownation.com.
quote, if you put MJ in today's game, he's just another superstar. We got me, Steph, Luka, Dame, Trey, and then guys like Bron, KD, Giannis, Kawhi. It's not just one superstar and a bunch of, average dudes, you feel? That's Ja Morant on Michael Jordan, except it's not.
Yeah.
ESPN got and put that on TV and then debated it and then had to apologize for it. It's the third time this has happened recently. It was Kendrick Perkins and David Jacoby.
Yeah.
They showed the original quote that we talked about yesterday, that I would have cooked him. And then they put that one up there, and that came from
Rooks at Bleacher Report.
no,
Taylor Rooks.
No, the
ain't it?
fake one came from Ball Sports.
Ball
or-
Sports.
We'll say Ball Blank Sports or Blank Sack Sports, whatever you want to call it. They've gotten multiple people recently.
Phrasing.
This keeps happening because people want to be quick. Take 5 seconds to see if something's real before you run with it.
Yep.
You say Kendrick Perkins?
You damn sure ain't cute. Man, you ain't handsome.
Stephen A. Smith got duped by this group
Yeah.
and did it on TV.
Cold blood.
Like, you just, first off, if you're following these people, don't follow them.
Yeah.
Like, unfollow them, mute them, something to where you can't see their stuff. Also, everything you see on social media is not true.
Say what?
Yeah, it's not true.
That's what I told you a second ago. I was like, wait before I actually make that announcement, man, on a Spirit that's supposed to be partnered up with the Titans. Like, we'll wait on that.
I mean, they put a graphic on the screen with the whole thing and then attributed it to Bleacher Report, to which Taylor Rooks came out and said, nope, that's not true. And then David Jacoby had to put a 3-pronged apology on Twitter after the fact. Just take 5 seconds to make sure it's real. Like, how does this still keep happening?
Oh, there was something Titans related that I saw today that was sourced by one person, and I went, yeah, I'm not running with that yet. Not yet.
You haven't even told me what that is.
Yeah,
So.
he hadn't told me. Deshaun is trending again. Was it along those lines?
No.
It wasn't him?
It was Titans related, right? Is that what you
Yes.
said?
Oh, well, I'm seeing something on social media.
I be listening to you?
Yeah,
I ain't listening to you.
Thanks, homie.
that's pretty much saying. You talking to me?
What?
Huh?
You really
What?
think I be listening to you? I ain't listening to you.
Again, this is fake, though. I think it's fake, but there are people on social media. Deshaun Watson's trending because they're speculating it can be 4 to 6 games. But I don't. I
again,
can't see
speculation.
that. Yeah, speculating.
Yeah.
If it's 4 to 6 games, I think people riot. I think they riot. Oh.
Anyway.
Let's just roll with that. I think they riot.
This put out this morning, ranking the active NFL Hall of Fame candidates at Mike Tannenbaum's website, the 33rd team. It's done by tiers because of our discussion about Derrick Henry in the last hour and what it might take and how close he is. This coming out right here this morning, right after that. Feel like we got to talk about it. We weren't expecting it. That's not why we did that topic. It just kind of came up because of everything else that was in the discussion. So we will look at that list. It's listed alphabetically into tiers. Is Derrick on the list? Where is he on the list? We will discuss what the executives, what the GMs, what people inside the league feel. Because, again, the 33rd team to me is just because Mike Tannenbaum's way too connected. I feel like he does the dirty work for others
right
on that website. A lot of the people that write for him, I think they are mouthpieces for others. So we'll talk about that and where Derrick Henry finds himself in the list of active guys in the league that have, Hall of Fame potential or locks, as we know in the case of some guys. We'll do that next. Jay Martin and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone.
From the Superbook.com sports desk, it is 9:01. I'm Jonathan Schaefer. Philip Forsberg and Nashville Predators general manager David Poile spoke with the media yesterday, formally announcing the 8-year deal that keeps Forsberg in Smashville.
I always felt that we were going to get it done. Again, I wish my life, there's a lot of things I wish that came in a little bit faster in a different form, but I think the most important thing is here we are today and we got it done.
That was the GM. Forsberg is the franchise's all-time leader in goals scored, also had career highs last season in goals, assists, and points. Big 3-game set down in Atlanta. Mets won the first game last night 4-1. Max Scherzer, 7 innings pitched, 9 strikeouts for the Mets, who are now 2.5 games ahead of the Braves in the NL East. Ryan Foundation Repair and Waterproofing needs. Visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
See you. Coach Mac popping in for a minute. We'll talk to him on Thursday.
Oh, Mac attack.
It's Jay Martin Mo, 4th hour of the show.
Well, just wait. We're a couple weeks away from getting the whole Titans radio band back together.
That's right.
I know.
A few of them have had a few weeks off loafing. That's about to end.
Chilling, yeah. It's about to get cranked up. I'm probably more excited about this season than any other season.
Well, I am too. I am ready for it. Ready for football. As usual.
Mm-hmm.
At Ramon Foster at Schaefer on Sports at JMart Radio at JMart and Ramon. All right.
I'm off today.
We're talking about we did the Fowler list already.
Yeah.
It came out second hour. It's what it's doing every day. Tomorrow will be the receivers. Curious where AJ is. There won't be a Titan on that list. We know that.
No.
But we'll be able to talk about that some. The executive scouts, coaches, all that stuff. Derrick's number one.
Yep.
One scout said, "Hey, for one more year, I'll take him." And I think that's telling because I think a lot of us are expecting a big-time work rate this year.
Yeah.
And this might be the last great year, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
We had to see because he's come back from an injury. We'd never seen him come back from an injury before
No.
because he hadn't been hurt before.
Right.
All right, so we ended up getting into a Hall of Fame discussion, which has happened before, about Derrick Henry, how close he is, what he needs. And I suggested first 1 year, then I realized, no, that was not a good take. So probably 2 1,500-yard years gets him somewhere in the vicinity, right?
Right.
Ranking the active NFL Hall of Fame candidates, this is the 33rd team. Jake Kernan wrote it. It's Mike Tannenbaum's website.
This is very interesting.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
There's a couple guys that I'm kind of shocked by and some different things. So it's active players, coaches, and contributors that could be wearing gold jackets.
Mm-hmm.
Considering players who played in the 2021 season who have not yet retired as active regardless of current roster status. So Hall of Fame locks, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 names on that list.
Yeah.
These are the ones that if they retire today, never stepped onto another sideline, one would be hard-pressed to pick who would be left off in the class of 2027. Absolute locks. Alphabetically, Aaron Donald,
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers,
Yes, sir.
Adrian Peterson,
Yep.
Belichick,
Yes.
Bobby Wagner,
Yes.
Jason Peters,
100%.
JJ,
Easy.
Patrick Peterson,
Dominant.
Richard Sherman,
Dominant.
Tom Brady, Travis Kelce,
Yes, sir.
Tyron Smith,
I'm with that.
and Von Miller. Walking gold jacket.
So these guys, though, are essentially that. I don't see anybody I'm pushing back on whatsoever when it comes down to this group of guys. Tyron Smith has some injuries. You kind of say it's availability, but you got to say he dominated. Pat Peterson, same thing. And it's a few of these guys ringless. Also,
Only 3 of them don't have rings.
Yep.
J.J. Watt, over 100 career sacks, 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards, the most dominant player in the league from 2012 to 2015.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it's written.
Yep.
Peterson, 8-time Pro Bowler, 3-time first-team All-Pro, has as many interceptions as Darrelle Revis. That meaning Patrick in this case.
Yeah.
Tyron Smith, 8-time Pro Bowler, 2-time first-team All-Pro, cornerstone and one of the best offensive lines ever over the span of his career. All three just as deserving of gold jackets as the rest of this tier, should be inducted in their first couple of years of eligibility.
Yup. I'm with it. D lineman, and this is the thing about them, they got to get the 100 sacks. I ain't going to say they got to get the 100 sacks, but that really strengthens your case this day and age, man. Numbers. There's one that I've kind of grazed through it a little bit. I'm a little iffy at this one.
Okay. Tier 2, borderline Hall of Fame locks. Will almost certainly end up in Canton based on trajectory. Most are putting the finishing touches on their resumes. Others in this category may take a few years to get in due to stiff competition. Still, we strongly anticipate the members of this group to be giving speeches in Canton before it's all said and done. All right. Andy Reid.
Yes, sir.
Calais Campbell.
I'm with that one.
Cam Jordan.
I didn't realize how dominant he was.
When you go and look at his number,
Yes.
he's there.
I think he's close to 100 sacks, so if you're not already over it.
Yeah, he's something else. Chris Harris.
Yeah.
Fletcher Cox.
Yes.
Jason Kelsey.
For interior guy,
Mm-hmm.
he might not be first ballot, but he should get in.
Mm-hmm. Jimmy Graham. That's interesting to me.
So I got to see his numbers as a tight end.
I need to
too.
see
It's
it
the
too.
numbers.
His numbers are good.
Yeah, they're pretty solid.
For those years he was dominant, But
Mhm.
man, it didn't feel like it was that long.
How many years? That's what I was going to say. How many years you need?
We need to look it up.
Yeah.
Julio, yes.
Yes.
Justin Tucker. Yeah, he's the one kicker that you don't even have to even mention here.
He almost might be a first ballot,
Yeah, he
considering
might be.
what he's done.
Matt Ryan.
Yes.
Matthew Stafford. I still think there's some people that are on double sides of that.
Yeah, I'm on both sides with Stafford.
I'm
man.
fine if he gets in.
Yeah.
Mickey Loomis, general manager.
Okay.
Mike Evans.
Been killing it so far under the low. He was in Tampa before Brady, right?
Yeah.
That's what you just kind of say?
Ndamukong Suh.
Yeah.
Pete Carroll.
Yup.
Russell Wilson.
Yes.
Trent Williams.
Yes, sir. Solidifying it.
He'll be on that first tier.
Yeah, he
He should almost already be there.
Yeah.
Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah, he's done it.
Zach Martin.
He's done it. He'd probably be down. Zach Martin might be down the line a little bit more, but he should get in. But it's so hard for interior, Jay. It just is. There's no metric.
Matthew Stafford was a candidate always hotly debated while he was in Detroit, but last season's Super Bowl should cement his candidacy. Andy Reid should be considered a sure thing, almost, is what they say. I agree. I can't imagine he wouldn't get in at this point.
Now, this is where my issue come up with this tier.
I figured.
Who you thinking I'm saying? Who you thinking I'm saying? It's a coach.
John?
No, Mike T.
Oh, well, no. I mean, I'm talking to the list of people that are here.
What's that?
Like, he's not mentioned. What I'm saying is I'm figuring you had a problem with somebody that was on the list.
No, not on the list. I think if for anything, this is the lowest Mike Tomlin should be.
Okay.
If
All
you're
right.
putting those other coaches in that conversation.
Strong Hall of Fame possibilities. Typically, those not given their fair share of attention from major media outlets, but have had very strong runs of success, can make strong arguments for themselves to be considered by the Hall of Fame. Others have had excellent careers to this point, maybe a few years away from establishing themselves as locks. Cam Hayward,
Yeah.
Chandler Jones,
Yep.
Devontae,
Need more years.
David Bakhtiari,
Need to stay on the field.
Nuke,
Yeah.
Dwayne Brown,
Mm-hmm.
Harrison Smith, we
Yep.
talked about a few days ago,
We did.
JPP.
Yeah.
I think he's plausible. I'd put him in tier 4. I don't know if I'd have him in tier 3.
I'm 4 with him.
John Harbaugh.
Yeah, Super Bowl winning coach.
Yep. Levante David.
Been killing it.
Yep. Never talked about enough.
Nope, never.
And Stephon Gilmore.
Stephon Gilmore, I almost feel like he could be up a tier.
I think it's just, let's make sure he's still got it.
Yeah, but he's 33.
Yeah, he's already done a lot.
I think Gilmore should be up a tier.
I think he should be up a tier.
I think he'll get in.
100%. I'd almost feel, except for the suspension. Y'all know how I feel about that. Nuke
Yeah.
Hopkins.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He could be up a little bit on that one. And I'd almost put Harbaugh up a list, up a tier also.
Tier 4, plausible nominees. This is where the debates get more interesting. One can make cases for these players based on the teams they played for or career stats, but their candidacy will ultimately come down to how the voters perceive each candidate. Okie dokie.
Sheesh.
A.J. Green. Man, he was hurt a lot.
He was. And in Cincinnati, he was the man, though. He had about 4 years, Jay. That's about
Yeah.
where you need to be.
C.J. Mosley.
Solid Super Bowl winning linebacker
Yep.
also.
Like my test for Hall of Fame is always when I hear their name, do I say Hall of Fame?
I know.
If I hear C.J. Mosley, that's not the first thing I'm going to say.
I'm saying there's other linebackers.
But we're in tier 4 here.
But if he's in, then Gerard Mayo's the type that's probably plausible to get in at some point too.
Deshaun Jackson.
Electric.
He didn't strike me as a Hall of Famer, man. He's a great player.
I think we're looking at stardom
very
now.
Good.
I think we're looking at stardom now. Like in the NBA, respectfully, he get in.
I agree. But we're not talking about the NBA.
But you see the differences, though. Yeah.
Dante Hightower.
Did it for a long time.
Played with the Patriots.
All of these guys has kind of got me like, oh.
There's a couple. Nah, you know what? Almost all these guys I don't necessarily see as
I wouldn't have thought of them.
Jason Light, the GM in Tampa.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about what he's done.
Me either.
I know what he's done in the last few years.
Yeah.
Joe Bitonio.
I'm being biased to something I shouldn't be biased again. He's a guard that, it's hard to justify. Has he been damn good? Yes, he has.
Justin Houston. Great player, not a Hall of Fame.
Just re-signed back with Baltimore. Lane Johnson, next, would be 2 tiers up had he not been popped for PEDs, I think not once but twice.
Well, look, Nuke.
Yeah. Lane Johnson, to me, is in that tier. I think he's higher up than where he's at right now.
He's the first name on this list where I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm with that one.
Yeah.
Mark Ingram. I think he's been good, but I don't think that's a Hall of Fame player.
I don't know if it's running. Oh, yeah.
T.Y. Hilton?
It's very good for his franchise.
Excellent player, not a Hall of Famer. Zach Ertz. You're getting closer, but if you got Kelsey and you got some of these guys, I just don't put Ertz in that category.
Okay, well, here's the thing. Unless you was going to make this a topic of conversation later, as far as Mark Ingram goes, one, he does have the ring.
Mm-hmm, that's true.
He does have the ring, but his career yardage, never being a leader of a league-leading rusher, if he's on this plausible and you hadn't named somebody else.
Well, that's because of age. It's because of how long. That's what it is. Like tier 5, promising but early. Here we go. Tier 5 covers a lot of ground, admittedly, as far as experience goes. Several players have nearly a decade of football left in the tank, which could solidify their status. We specifically tried to focus on candidates to have at least a few years of experience, which is why we left some of the young gun quarterbacks that are making noise off this list.
Okay.
Alvin.
Could be.
Brandon Scherf.
Yes, I like Scherf.
Dak. Dallas may help him, but we're way early on that one.
Yeah, the star help him. And also, he is Dallas also. If we're being real, considering Zeke's slight decline a little
Derrick,
bit.
certainly.
Yeah.
Zeke. I'm saying that's about over. We're getting to where that's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. George Kittle.
I thought he should have been a tier higher.
I thought he'd been higher too.
Yep.
Joey Bosa.
Young.
This one right here,
yeah,
Justin Jefferson.
Yes, sir.
I've said before, I think he's the best receiver in the league right now today.
Yeah, he's just super young as far as him being up a tier.
But he has 3,000 yards in 2 years. Lamar Jackson.
He has a very strong case.
Myles Garrett.
A strong case.
Yes. Nick Bosa.
Young. Yes.
Odell.
Yeah, need a little bit more production.
Mahomes.
Yeah.
I can't imagine he's not in.
Mm-hmm.
Quentin Nelson.
Give him time. Yep.
Sean McVay's in already, I think. Shaq Barrett
has been killing it for a while.
Tyreek.
It's going to be an interesting case with Tyreek.
Because of everything else surrounding Tyreek.
Not even just that. I think he needs to prove it he can do it without Patrick. You see what I'm saying? Like,
sure.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with him. Like, I want to say yes if he was still with Mahomes, but the fact that he's with Tua and he is number one, like fully number one, and like he got to lead the troops.
Well, with that said, then Mahomes needs to prove he can do it without Tyreek because they're both on the same list together.
But as far as the careers go, Mahomes proves he has more control over his proving.
I agree with that.
I guess that's my point.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
And Vita Vea.
Hard for a D tackle that plays that position. Sapp is same organization made it in too. He is a top 25 under 25 type of cat.
So that's the list. So this is what it says. Group is tough to nail down considering how much room for error there is for players left, with this much time left. They've shown the ability of a Hall of Famer, but they've got to show longevity. And then specifically, take Derrick Henry, for example. Henry is one of the most impressive and powerful runners in the history of pro football. He's one of only 8 players to have ever rushed for more than 2,000 in a season. However, He's currently 71st all-time in career rushing yards. It was 67.97. To have a realistic shot at the Hall of Fame, he needs another 4,000 yards.
You said 1,500 per.
So that's 3,000. That wasn't assuming he's out of the league after that. It was
Right.
assuming then you get another.
That's what I was really. If he's going to get 10,000, I don't think that number 10,000 won't be as a Titan, in my opinion.
Oh, I don't either.
Unless they're just that loyal. Again, I was looking at Adrian Peterson's. He was still with Minnesota at 33. Or, it was around 33 years old. He was still with them. It'll be interesting to see if Derrick Henry gets that type of grace here.
But right now, basically saying, look, to be plausible, he needs 4,000 more yards to even be in that to really be considered.
10K.
And that's actually 10-7 if you were to do that. It'd be almost 11,000 yards at that point.
Mike Tomlin didn't make the list.
Didn't make the list. Not on the list right now.
Is that just a me thing that I'm confused about it?
No, I think it should be on the list.
Doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
Maybe they just missed it. Maybe you just overlooked it somehow.
I mean, as far as
But
current,
you can't put Harbaugh on there and not have Tomlin.
and not have him. I mean, what about
Because
Pete?
they're very similar careers.
Pete got one too, just one.
Well, and Pete
Carroll.
only had like that window, and that was it.
Like I'd put Tomlin in before I put Pete Carroll.
Oh, there's no question.
I wouldn't even think twice about that. We'll come back. Ron Slay will join us.
Extensive list right here. I like it,
fun.
man.
It's fun. I'm glad they put it out.
How many walking gold jackets are the Titans playing this year?
Oh, that's a good question. They didn't mention Josh Allen, but I think he would probably be one of those young guys you'd consider.
Yep.
They just want to see a little bit more from. We'll come back. Slay will join us. It is Jay Martin Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back, J. Martin and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. So the legal briefs in the Watson hearing, that deadline was yesterday.
It was yesterday.
I saw some people say start looking around July 25th for the decision.
Yep.
The over-under right now, at least I'm seeing this from Dan Lust of Sports Law Lust, is 9.5 games.
9.5
That's the
games?
over-under right now.
Yeah, 9.5. Wow.
We'll see.
4 to 6 was out there. I think that was just somebody trying to catch some traction somewhere. I highly doubt that being the case, man. Jay, we were also looking at this list still, man.
Yeah. We're looking at There
was another name that was off.
So a list of active NFL Hall of Fame candidates, meaning guys that are playing and or coaching and or in the league that you can see being Hall of Fame, and it was tiered out. And so we kind of argued that Tomlin should have been in this list. If Harbaugh's in this list, he should be, and I'm definitely putting him in this list over Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
Right? I think the guy who puts this together for Tannenbaum probably just missed a few. Because I think he probably just missed. Because there's another guy on here that I think is even more of a like if you look at some of the it's still too early's and some of this stuff, him not being on any of these lists, there's no way in the world. He is nowhere less than borderline Hall of Fame lock to me already, based on what he's done. And that would be Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah.
Him not being anywhere on this list tells me they just missed it. Like they thought he was on here and somehow it didn't get written down or something. There's no way that they would have left him off intentionally.
But you start mentioning Pat Peterson and Richard Sherman, you got to start thinking about, well, who was after them? You know what I'm saying? Like, how you leave him off?
I mean, with Richard Sherman and Aqib Talib both coming out and not destroying Jalen Ramsey for saying, who else has done what I've done, but saying, yeah, you're the guy. Like Sherman saying, I'll put my numbers next to you. He's like, but you're the guy.
Yeah.
And said, Patrick Peterson has an argument too, but you're the guy.
He's the guy.
And then you look at it statistically, and there's a dude from the Bills back in the AFL days, the only guy that's had a better start to his career than Jalen Ramsey has. That's Ron Slay has joined us. Like, Jalen's got to be on the list.
Yeah, I think so without question. I think when you look at what he does and then the impact, like, over that stretch, that's the thing, man. Like, some people – I heard y'all, a little bit of slander to the NBA Hall of Fame.
Tell me I'm lying.
You ain't lying. You know what I mean?
Just say it seems like it's a little too easy to get in these days.
It's lax. But I think the thing that helps that is when you get the ring.
When you get the
You know what I'm saying? But it's, for me, with Jalen and guys like that in the NFL, it's the impact on getting the ring.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That kind of thrust you into the limelight into it. Yeah. So Jalen, man, he definitely should be in there, man.
Yeah, I just
he
think
walked the walk and he talked the talk on different teams. Like, you was on a really bad franchise.
And did.
And
to
y'all
the
did y'all
AFC
thing.
Championship game.
You
were
know what I'm saying?
Stalwart of the defense.
Yeah.
Win the AFC title game.
Yeah.
Nearly beat Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, then went to the Rams and didn't miss a step. You still being mentioned with one of the greatest who's the first ballot in Aaron Donald. How do you not get mentioned?
Yeah,
you know
right.
what I'm saying? So,
I just think that was an oversight.
Yeah.
I think
Easy
it was
oversight.
unintentional oversight. So Derrick Henry's the one, obviously, that we talked about because we talked about the running back list earlier.
yeah.
And it says, only 8 guys have ever rushed for 2,000 or more. He's one of them, but he's 71st in career rushing yards. He's a 67-97. 33rd team says to have a realistic shot, he needs another 4,000 yards in his career. I said 2 1,500-yard seasons probably do it.
Yeah.
But that also assumes he's not out of the league in 2 years.
Right.
He has 1,500. Then it probably dwindles to 1,000 or somewhere in that neighborhood. And then he's hit that 4,000 plateau at that point.
Yeah.
And then you can make the argument because that's the 10,000 threshold.
Yeah, I don't think it's wrong, because you take in account if he wasn't hurt, you know what I'm saying, then that would have thrust him up with another 1,000, at least 750, you know what I'm saying? So you add that in, and then you're looking at what? 3,000 more, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That makes sense. 2 more years. So
I think his number without the ring is 10.
yeah, I can understand that.
Or if you get another 2,000. If he gets another 2,000.
If he gets another 2,000, he's in.
He's in.
I think that stamps it.
Yeah, that has to stamp it, even if he's under 10.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if he go out and get another.
Even if he gets 2,017 games and not 16, he's still in.
Yeah.
It's still. Because,
that's still a
Jonathan
feat.
Taylor had the opportunity last year and still didn't get 2.
Yep.
If we're
Yep.
speaking on that side of it, and it was projected that Derrick was going to get like 1,900.
Yeah.
But, yeah, this is an interesting take, man, for Derrick. Again, Jay brought this up earlier. It's this year or nothing, I feel like, for Derrick. You can't be mad at him if he holds in, meaning lack of practice, if that's his MO. You know, and maybe they've already established, look, you come to camp, look like what you're supposed to look like, and we will pay you. But those rumors that we were hearing during the summertime, that got to come from his camp.
Yeah.
He got to know this is the big bang right here.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. And I think looking at it, when you see a guy like Derrick Henry, one thing you never have to worry about, because it is his brand, is his body. You know what I'm saying? So it ain't.
Is.
I think that goes without saying, because he's always applying for another job right then and there when you see him.
Yep.
You know, and then I think one thing about it also, when you start talking about guys that are competitors, which we know he is, I expect this year, regardless of the lack of touches or whatever, even if it was 1,500 that he went and got, the impact and how he went and got them.
Yeah.
Was it a 13 carry, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Blasting off, or is it a 27, 28? So to me, he's in a.
That's true.
He's in a great situation to me. You know what I mean? Because he's out to prove something. The line got to prove something.
Yep.
The quarterback got to prove something.
Yeah.
The offense in general as a whole got to prove something. And it's all resting on his shoulders, regardless if we want to act like they're saving them for the playoffs and not giving them a lot of load.
Yeah.
Or, just letting them run rampant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think this is gonna be a good year for him, man. I'm gonna be honest, man. And I think, man, when you got guys that have injuries like that, and all you hear, and that was so good to hear Tannehill speak.
Yep.
We ain't gonna hear Derrick Henry speak.
No.
But we will get to see his actions.
Yep.
You'll
You know
hear
what
his
I'm saying?
feet.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So I just think, man, a person like that's been hearing things from the media like, man, maybe he got one more year. There's people like him that are Adrian Peters. That's why we call them avatars.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because they always looking to prove, like, y'all thought I had one more year, huh?
Yeah.
I got 1,500 yards. 1,500-yard seasons left in me.
So
Then
if he
what?
does that, then we don't have an argument anymore.
No, absolutely wrong.
So the other, I just thought of another name that wasn't on that list. Is kind of interesting.
Who's that?
AB.
Well, he ain't retired yet. You're right.
Well, that's an active list.
That's an active list. AB hasn't retired. You're right.
Yeah.
He's technically on
He's
a
going to be an interesting case.
He's
going to be a real interesting case. He's going to be in that TO.
Yep. They gonna shine him
But from
for
a
a year or two.
from a stat standpoint,
No, AB got it.
he's in. Like there's no.
Man, what about
There's a few others that are popping
what's
into my
that
head
guy
too.
from the Saints? That just retired. The coach.
Sean Payton.
Sean Payton. What
Did
do
he
y'all think about him?
retire or did he?
I just stepped away.
He's coming back.
He's coming back. Sean
When
Payton is in.
shouldn't he be on the list?
Yeah, Tomlin went in it. Sean Payton went in. Antonio ain't in.
Them the first
and
two
you
coaches that
mentioned-
came to my
Another
mind.
name,
If
but
you
he
believe
did
the
just
rumors-
retire. Gronk.
Sean was going to be coaching this year.
Yeah,
Right.
was gonna
If
be
you want to
coach.
believe the
In
rumors.
Miami?
In Miami.
with Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Gronk, you're right. So
but Gronk's not active right now,
he ain't out.
technically.
Gronk's another one.
But he's definitely he's a lock Hall of Famer. Like he's a top tier 1 guy.
Yeah.
So how do you sit there in a room like this though and come up with it and then forget him?
You can't forget him unless it's a
Not these
one-person
guys.
project. No.
Also another one.
No.
Another one. In the it's still early at least is
Yeah.
TJ.
What?
Oh.
Was
Yeah, because you
JJ?
mentioned
he's
both.
got to
JJ's
be
a
in
walking
there.
gold jacket. They got him
They had
first.
him in the
Yeah,
first.
he's
All
up
right,
there.
all right. I was
JJ's
listening
in
to it. I
here.
ain't hear that. Okay.
Yeah, JJ's. You're TJ.
TJ's
Because-
got to be in the tier 5. Like if you've got Justin Jefferson, who again I think is the best receiver in football.
Yep.
If you've got him after 2 years, TJ Watt just won Defensive Player of the Year. Like he should be. I mean, Zeke's in that list.
Yeah, that's
Zeke is not a Hall of Famer based on what
I mean,
I've
they
seen.
got both Bosa's in that list though,
and they should be there.
they should be there.
but
what-
TJ should be too. Does this guy hate Pittsburgh? AB, TJ, Tomlin, Ramon.
I mean, might as well throw me in there. Oh, I'm retired right now. You ain't handsome. Throw that in. Who's
I
this
just
man?
thought I find it. TJ has to be on the trajectory
Jake
of
Kernan.
Hall of Fame.
Who's this dude? Jake Kernan, man. He's written about mostly college stuff.
I mean, Dak is in the list, but TJ Watt's not.
TJ Watt.
That's a tough one.
That's
a tough one.
Oh, that's tough right there.
I'm so big on the eye test, man, and impact. Like, I know a lot of the numbers speak for
Yeah.
when you talking NFL Hall of
Yeah.
Fame. But that eye test, man, that's something else for me, man.
Has 72 sacks.
That's what I'm
in
saying.
five
Does he
seasons.
really? That's what I'm saying.
5 seasons.
And imagine, see, my thing is, it ain't
Like,
just
it's dumb. He's not right. I'm not wrong.
That ain't
right?
just a
Like, he's
handful.
got to be on that. It's
Well, that's
early,
right,
but
yeah.
that's a bucket load, dog.
at
Like,
least.
But that's the thing. He plays 5 more years just at that rate. He's going to be at 150 sacks.
What's
and
crazy?
when he gets them. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's the game. It's the fourth quarter. We got to get a fourth down, stop right here. This man go get a strip sack.
Yes, he does.
He don't go get a sack. He go get a strip sack, get the ball back,
Look,
and
TJ
then do the Superman jump or whatever it is.
He's projecting to be one of the top 5 sack leaders in league history.
Without question.
He is.
Myles Garrett is on this list, and he got 58 and a half.
And
Okay.
I agree Miles should be
He
on
should
it.
be on
But
it.
so
He
should
should.
TJ.
Hey, listen, me and Savage were talking the other day, man. Anytime that you can place someone else opposite of you
Yeah.
and they have it, like Bud is, hey, listen, I love what Bud brings to the game.
Yeah.
What he, you know what I mean? And the
I
potential
thought
that what
TJ
he's
was
going to
going
bring.
to drop off last year. I didn't realize TJ was that special. I
And-
thought Bud helped TJ, but you saw TJ on his own. Just
And what's the buddy that they put on opposite of him this past year?
Alex Highsmith.
He didn't have no bad year.
No,
No.
he did.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, anytime you can put a book in next to him and,
Yeah. And they eat
and
too.
they don't miss,
Yeah.
it's him.
yeah, no, it's
The
him.
common
It's that
denominator
guy.
is him.
The common denominator is him.
What?
Hold
Yeah,
up.
man,
He
that's
got
tough.
how many again, Shay?
72, right?
72.
That's a lot.
In
In
5 years.
That's a lot.
What the hell?
That's a lot.
That's almost 15 a season.
I didn't realize this was that when I
Well,
was
he
playing
went
with him.
from 7 to 13 to 14 to 15 to 22 and a half last year.
With missing 2 games.
Missing 2
Sure
games.
did.
He missed 2 games. He would have shattered the record. He would have crushed the record, man.
Did he tie it or did he break it? I think
He tied it.
Yeah.
He tied it 22 and a half.
Hey, man.
So
crazy with
TJ
it.
and Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, T-Lane, that's the article.
Yep. That is.
That's
And hey, if you want to be
That's the
petty,
headline.
if you want to be petty, you see Justin Jefferson's name. AJ's not on this list.
Well, another name that's not on that list
Who?
to further show that this guy hates the Steelers? Cam.
Cam
Yes,
he
is.
made it.
Yeah.
Oh, was he?
Yeah,
Cam
he
Hayward?
was.
Okay.
I
A
didn't,
little
he's
bit
tier
more
3.
work.
Okay, I didn't hear it. My bad.
Even
I didn't
to-
hear him either. Yeah.
Strong. He's in strong possibilities.
He's in
There
strong
was a lot of names, to
possibility.
be fair. Read off. But
Yeah, Cam's on the list.
Golly, that's cold blooded right there. They put a kicker above them all. They put a kicker
Tucker.
above TJ.
That's real. Go get it, Tucker.
Tucker's getting in and
Cooking
should.
70 yards.
Yeah, he is.
Who cares? Just put him in.
Just
But
get on
yeah.
the logo in the middle of the field.
TJ's gotta be in at least
True.
tier 5. Jeremy is on line 1. Jeremy, what's going on?
Hey guys, good morning. Now this is kind of conversations I love, and stats are all that matter. People can say, this is my favorite player, this guy sucks, this and whatnot. But if it doesn't match the numbers, what you're trying to justify in the conversations, it doesn't matter. That's the way I look at it when it comes to sports conversations. With Derrick Henry, I read something somewhere where he's the only man in organized football history to ever rush for 2,000 yards in college or high school, college, and in the NFL. If he would have had that other 2,000-yard season last year, which I think he would have, regardless of the 10,000-yard season, do you think that would have put him over the hump, so to speak, and get him into the Hall of Fame? And then, if he does have to keep running the ball at the pace that he is running it at and has, does he start to get into that conversation where his stats mirror Eddie George's? Because the knock on Eddie George is, he had all them carries, his yards per carry went down. That's why they're like, he's not, able to get into the Hall or whatever. Does his numbers start to get to that point where it becomes, look how many times he had to rush in order to even get near 10,000? And his time, his window is closing, because in order to carry the ball that many times in this type of offense that they're running, that takes a toll on a man's body. And like I said, he is an avatar, but how much of that type of juice does he have left in the tank in order to keep pushing him through that? But I'll hang up and listen to what you guys got to say. I'm always listening. Love the show. Always. Talk to y'all later.
Sure. Yeah, look, to that point, problem for Eddie was it just didn't last very long.
Yeah.
You gotta do it for a sustained amount of time. I think what's the most impressive thing Adrian Peterson did in his career?
Breakaway runs.
It wasn't just run 2,000.
Yeah.
It was run 2,000 after an ACL.
Yeah.
Yep.
The following year.
longevity was
So,
serious.
to that point, if Derrick were to come back from this injury and rush for 2,000, that'll be the most impressive accomplishment he could ever pull off. And that's why I think if he hits 2,000 again, he's in.
This is another thing too. He's a half an era late, because we spoke about LT earlier, who got league MVP. AP also got it, or AD, all day AP is he also got MVP. It's so hard for that position to get that accolade now, because I do think that's a stamp too.
Yep.
That's also a stamp to me, is getting that league MVP. All pro, like I'm looking at Adrian Peterson, 7-time Pro Bowl, 4-time All Pro, and then he got the offensive player. The league MVP too. That's tough. Now, again, I'm with you on Ron. You said his body of work, meaning his actual body. I think he can last long as far as him playing in the league. Again, Adrian Peterson didn't switch teams until he was 32. Derrick is just 28.
Right.
If he got 4 more years in him, and some D'Angelo Williams types, some Frank Gore type years in him, if he wants to do that,
right,
I think he can make a better case if he can last longer, if this foot injury don't bring him down.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just got to see what he comes back from, and if he can stay healthy from this point forward. That's going to tell the tale. We'll come back more with Ron. Summer League, we've avoided talking about it, which is fine with me.
I saw the Summer League ring.
Did you? What
told
it look like?
It looks damn good.
Did it?
Looked better than the WNBA All-Star trophy.
Now
that was made of aluminum foil.
I can't wait till Thursday.
That's on my Thursday.
Oh, wait,
list.
we're going to run that one. Run on a fast break on that. We're 2-on-1 break on that one.
One of you's going to be open. We'll be back. J. Martin Ramon, 104.5 The Zone.
Did it?
Jay Martin, Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Buck and Lucas just popped in. They'll follow us. Stick around. Ron Slay's hanging out.
Getting his hop on over there.
Tomorrow on the program, Mike Tenier, Football Outsiders, who wrote a piece entitled Jameis Winston Highlights 2022 All Boom or Bust Team. For running back, you can guess who the All Boom or Bust
It better
candidate
not be Derrick.
is. Oh, yeah, it is. So he'll join us tomorrow.
Oh, their
It's gonna be a fun
almanac
show
is
right
released today.
Yeah, the Football Outsiders Almanac hits
We
today.
really getting close, huh?
Yeah,
Warren
finally.
Sharp's almanac is out today.
Knocking on the door.
Knocking on the
Need it.
door.
Need it.
Need it.
Need it.
If you know.
So, Paolo Banchero got shut down. Magic, we saw enough. No
Yeah.
more summer league for you. The
Saw
night they
enough
were
for
playing
Paolo.
against Chet.
Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah. He gonna be a problem.
Wow.
It's just it's at Orlando. That's the whole
Yep.
thing. Like it's so many young teams, but young guys that expected to do something, but they got a young nucleus around them. It's like, how much do you expect when your veteran is Admiral Schofield, who's on a
Who they also shut down
yeah,
yesterday.
you know what I'm
and
saying?
said,
Which
We've
is
seen enough from him.
That's a
great.
good thing for him?
oh, terrific.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
the less AD does, the better.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
and then keep him off the court. Matter of fact, you know what I mean, just like because he gonna start trying to do some dribble move or something, and they're gonna be, oh yeah, he can't dribble. Let's get him out of here. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, but him, I think Jabari's gonna be good. I hate him being in Houston. Like
Yeah.
I wish
Nothing
he was
there.
somewhere. And then it's just if you were playing pickup and you had to pick a team, give me the Houston Rockets. You talking about show out? It's gonna be what? You gonna be on your feet all day watching the pickup game because it's gonna be dunk after dunk. It's gonna be.
But that's not the NBA.
That's not the NBA. Not when it matters. It's not the NBA when it matters. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I'm glad
So,
you clarified that.
Then you got Chet. I like Chet, and I honestly think OKC gonna be all right, man. They got you got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah.
You got these guys that, and then Gritty.
Oh,
I just went blank on his
come on,
first name.
Jay. Who?
Is it Justin Gritty? I
Ramon.
forgot his- No, Jay Gritty, the white kid that's cold blooded.
Oh, okay.
He'll be a second year guy, but he's nasty.
Is
So
it?
pair him with Chet, and then they got some guys, man. They got some guys, so that's gonna be
Talking about
interesting.
Josh
to see
Giddey.
Josh Giddey,
Yeah.
that's his name. Yeah. So
Gosh.
When you said
he's
Gritty,
serious.
I was thinking of the Philadelphia
Gritty.
mascot, Flyers
right.
mascot.
Talk about that drug addict.
Lil Ron be walking around the house. And doing
Does he?
Yeah,
That's all they do. They can't even walk straight
what are
without
you
doing the gritty no more.
Yeah, but I think it's fun though, man. Kennedy's doing really good.
Yeah.
So
So that wasn't a hometown favor with them giving that big second round contract.
I think it was, but at the same time, he can really play.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
It would have been one of those that we just got finished talking about during the break. Hey, man, how the Titans let Trey Smith go through there?
Yeah.
If they let Kennedy slide past them, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think it was good for them to go get San Antonio to get him, and then they do the trade and whatever. But, man, dude is – he a player. And when you talk about a young nucleus that got something around him, Ja really got something around him.
He does.
He got something around him. Now, can they keep it there? Because, man, like what gets overlooked is how easy we think Golden State is put together.
Yeah.
And able to get there 8 times, and LeBron able to go there 10 times. And we start to think like that championship window is really that big. It's not that big. It's you got 2-3 years, man, with these contracts and stuff.
Yeah.
Contracts are written on napkins.
Well, not just that. With Golden State, they pay $1 billion in penalty for going over the cap, too.
Yeah, but they know they're getting to that chip, so it's
That's
all
right.
cool. You
That's
know what I'm
right.
saying? So
Speaking of Chip, though, I mean, to cut you off, but Dame, good or bad for him? We talked about it a little bit yesterday.
He just seems like he's wired a little bit differently.
Is that
it's man, it's some people like honestly, we like that. We loyal to a fault. You
Yeah.
feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it is. Like Portland gave him his opportunity. Nobody wanted him.
Yeah.
He rocking with him. You know what I'm saying? He's not leaving. You know
Okay.
what I'm saying? So
I respect it.
I
do
do too.
too.
I mean,
Yeah.
I do too.
I hate we're never going to see him win a championship.
And
It's
that's
gonna be difficult there.
but it ain't. It's
When
still
it's rocking now, though, it's rocking.
But it's still the West Coast. It
Yep.
ain't far from LA.
Right.
You're on the same time schedule as the Lakers,
Yep.
Clippers, Sacramento. I mean, I know it ain't the same draw,
Mm-hmm.
but why not a flight up to Portland
But
not
guess
attractive.
what, though, Savage? When Portland rocking, they support.
Yeah, no, they got one of the best. They got one of the
they
best
come through it,
gyms in the league.
Just got to put something around them, man.
Problem is, they've never been able to get a free agent to come there.
That's
CJ
the whole
McCollum's
problem.
been the best player he's ever played with.
He dipped to New Orleans.
Like Dame, why
LaMarcus
wouldn't you want to
Aldridge
play
was
with
an all-star.
Dame
He
when
had to
nobody's
bail. He
ever
bailed.
gone there?
Yeah, he bailed. So, I mean.
I'm with you. The fact that he stayed down, I want to see him Giannis this thing.
As usual,
You know?
this segment
Yep.
just keeps on going, and Schaefer gets more and more exasperated,
I'm
starts
good.
shaking his
I'm
head.
just turn
care.
y'all-
We
just turn it
don't
off.
care. We don't care.
3
We
HL
do
this
not care.
afternoon, Buck Rising coming up next.
I
So
already
we'll
got
just
that
talk.
one.
We'll talk right till 10.
Might as well.
I know.
Why not?
I know he's just going to turn all our mics
We got
off, so
to
we
pay
better
the
just
bill.
send it
I'll
home
turn mine
now.
back on. I'll turn mine back on.
But remember, your Twitter fingers on your mic is always hot.
I can feel it all the way down in my plums.